Welcome everybody to twitch.tv/sim broadcasts, and it's a Sunday night, and that can only mean one thing: the final round of GT2 Challenge 2021 by New Dimension Racing, and in association, of course, here with ourselves at Sim Broadcasting. Today, the final round of the season comes to you live from Aston Grand Touring. We've had tight and twisty tracks, we've had flowing tracks at Kyoto, but we have everything here today for you at Aston. Aston is the granddaddy of Live for Speed tracks. It's where most of the big events took place. When we had 24-hour races, it would always be at Aston. And this is a real driver's track. This is a brilliant track. I'm joined today by Travis Mehlinger and Adam Brown, who would normally compete in the series. Gentlemen, welcome to the commentary box today. What are your expectations for this race, Adam? Heading as a normally a series competitor, you're missing this round today, but what do you expect from this track?
I expect this track, as you said, it's got a bit of everything. So I'm expecting some really interesting strategies, some really close racing, and yeah, really anything could happen around here. In for a good show today.
And Travis, you would have done the 24-hour races here, if my memory remembers correctly. What do you make of this as a track yourself in these cars?
You're close. I watched a lot, but I never participated. Like you said earlier, this has a little bit of everything. It is a driver's track. I agree with that. It's pretty fast. I think we'll see a lot of good close racing. These cars follow pretty well, and there's plenty of room for them to kind of run side by side and bang doors a little bit. I think it'll be fun to see. I think it'll also be fun. You'll probably get to this in a second to see that everyone else who's not Joe Holmes has a fair shot at it today. Maybe we can talk about that.
Yes, they certainly do. Joe Holmes, of course, our champion after the Fern Bay round, is not with us today. Unfortunately, he has a prior commitment, but having wrapped up the championship at Fern Bay 2 weeks ago, he did not require to attend anyway, so that's a good thing for him. You can see the qualifying session is underway. I should say that my name is Chris Ford. I always forget to introduce myself, which is a bit useless, really. But here we go, you're seeing Patrick Hall on the track just now in the lime green FZR, and I think that this today, boys, is going to be a very interesting battle between the XR and the FZR. This is usually a track where those two cars are a bit closer together on performance.
Yeah, definitely. FZR is probably a bit faster in the sort of slower corners because there's no turbo lag, so this thing can power out the corners much faster. So the first sector should be the FZR's where it gains the most time against the XR, but it'll be close around the rest of the track.
Yeah, indeed. I think it'll be very interesting to see as well what the stop strategy is. That usual one that we discussed, the pit stop strategies, and I think today, we'll see everybody pitting, because I think most people will be running R2 software compound in the XR. I think you will see the FZRs running R2, R3, but that will be a considerably slower way to round this track. Would you agree, gents?
Well, having driven R2, R3 for most of the series, even with the R3s at the rear, it is quite difficult to make it to the end on the single set of tires. So we might see some of the R2, R3 runners pitting just because they can push a little bit harder and don't need to worry about the tires conking out.
I think Adam tends to have somewhat better insight than I do, but I'm inclined to agree. The really fast sweeping corners where you can really drive the car in hard tend to use the tires a little bit more. So I think Adam's probably right. Might be a little rough. Might be a little rough on tires, but we'll see. Some of these guys are awfully gentle on their equipment and still manage to stay pretty quick. So it'll be interesting.
The Nico Pontola, who's going to be the first driver to set a time on the board, is across the line now. Sets a 2:42.2, which is a reasonable time. That's very close to what we had in pre-qualifying as the top time. Of course, pre-qualifying does not include the top 10 drivers in the series currently, so we'll expect to see the pole time to be quite a bit faster than that.
Yep, and as you were mentioning there, Adam, the pre-qualifying results were done to last night. A 2 minutes 39.99 was, I believe, the fastest time, and it was there. There you are, just now up on your screen there. So there are pre-qualifying times. 2 minutes and 38 was the quickest on the server. That was Vitautas the Gutskas in the XR. He's returned to the XR today. That's something we need to remember. He's not running his bus today. He is running a proper racing car, which is nice to see again. And there are the people who qualified for this event, and we're looking now at Owen Harmon, who squeaked in with who, boys, it was remarkable. Owen had spent the entire day, and then it took me shouting at him in the last 15 minutes to get him into pre-qualifying. Maybe I should be a driver coach.
Maybe you should be. I think it's amazing that he's managed to scrape in. I think that's by about 400ths of a second, so that's a big well done to him.
Yeah, if nothing else, you're doing the Yankee commentators a favor, because I'm Owen's stand-in, so I appreciate that. Good coaching.
Well, we can make the jokes we normally make with the win if you want, Travis, but he's not here to defend himself, unfortunately, again, and I promised him I would not embarrass him, but I've just done it, so that's fine. Owen Harmon, our usual commentator in the race today, he made it in it was genuinely with 2 minutes to go. Deco had called time when he went out for one last lap, so well done to Owen again for qualifying. He's made most of the races this year, and he's very happy with that. And we're going through our championship order just now. As I said, Joe Holmes has already wrapped up the championship. We've had 90 cars to this point. 90 different drivers competing in this series. That's quite a remarkable number in 2021 in Live for Speed.
Indeed it is. I mean, NDR always gathers a big sort of audience. It's quite a big name, so a lot of drivers do want to compete in their events, but even still, it's a nice turnout we've had this season.
Indeed, full grid's entirety of the season. It's very good to see, and hopefully we'll get a good series finale. Vitautas the Gutskas on pole in the XR just now on 2 minutes 39.62, ahead of Juharo Laikinen 2:39.75. Here's the teams championship just coming up onto screen just now. We still have a slight battle in that. The teams that are in red can still win this championship today. Chad Esports and World Class Lions are the two that are competing. Unfortunately, Adam Brown's CSF Esports are not in contention. I am looking forward to never having to say that team name again.
Yeah, I think you might be in luck there. I'm not sure if we're going to be running that name again.
Thank the Lord.
Although, if you really do annoy us, then we might have to consider it.
If I annoy you, well...
Yes. So, another thing to note is Vitautas Gutskas, well, he's on pole, and Chad Esports already have a massive lead over World Class Lions. Isaac Price in fourth, so unless the guys at Chad do something very wrong, I reckon this could be quite an easy run to the team's championship for them.
Speaking of which, that looks like Jonikid spinning at the second last corner, the corner before the chicane, so he's currently in third position. Maybe he was just making way, but that was a strange place to be in. I think you're probably correct there.
Also to note, Isaac Price had prior commitments today, and he has not done much practice at all for this round. That's why he's half second off of the current pole time. Normally he would be the pole time, or at least very close to it.
He and Yoni Katia were competing together in an iRacing Teams Championship, and they're very happy that Yoni has won his first championship in iRacing. It was a split two, but they're very excited about the future for that, and they've decided to celebrate by racing and Live for Speed this evening.
I believe when we were discussing it earlier in the organizers channel, I think Jonathan Palmer described it as he's going to YOLO it today. I would say half a second off with a YOLO isn't a bad effort. We'll probably see him at the front no matter what, because he's awfully quick.
I think if we could go for hundreds of laps and get to that time, we'd be very happy with ourselves, I think.
He is indeed a bit of a natural-born racer, so not at all surprised.
So speaking of natural born racers, we're not supposed to have biases or favors in here, but there is a driver in this event that I really enjoy watching and enjoy talking to. That is Number Zdravko Toponiak. He's a little bit further off right now. I don't see him in the top 20 there, but I'm sure we will because in pre-qualifying, he had dipped into the 240s. I don't know how you guys obviously see him drive a lot more than I have over the past few years, but he tends to show up and really impress us. I know Adam and I were on the edges of our seats when we were doing the MRC series a few months ago. I expect he'll do really well today. He's a lot of fun to watch. He just kind of shows up and then wrings the neck of a car and does really well. Hopefully, we'll see that from him today.
I'm very interested to see what Darius Verginskas can do. He's driving the bus round Aston against two, well, I would have to say two much faster cars for this combo, so good luck to him. He's holding his own, and he's got a nice little tribute to Murray Walker on his roof, who he sadly lost last week. Got William Lima on our screens, who has not been at every round. Normally a very fast driver. I know a lot of the South American drivers have been kind of, I wouldn't say scared, but there's been some issues with lag, and they've not been the most popular on the grid, so they've taken a break, but back for a bit of fun in the final round.
Yeah, I know Pedro Picunco is a notable participant. We see him in a lot of these events, and I'd say you're right. He's typically pretty quick. A lot of these guys are certainly talented, but I think the latency from South America definitely hinders them a bunch. Hopefully, they don't have any trouble today. We can see some good driving out of those guys.
We're looking just now at Vitautas Lagutskas coming through sector number 2 on pole position at the moment. He's improved to 239.62, so 3 tenths quicker than the fastest in pre-qualifying. Of course, there's a CSF Esports car off on the grass. That's Sarah off on the grass, Adam. But we have wind, of course, during this qualifying session, something we wouldn't have in the pre-qualifying race.
Yeah, the wind. Around some tracks, the wind seems to be a pretty null effect, but I haven't done much practice around Aston, so it could make a massive difference around here. I know in the kind of S's section that Lagutskas is coming up to now, you really need to watch out for the wind, because you're using the downforce, you're using the car, you're going right full speed around these bends. Any little gust or any little change in the wind can really have an impact on the way you drive.
I think the corners he just went through are probably the most challenging. I don't know. It's certainly difficult to run in the wind like that, but we think back to the event at Blackwood a couple rounds ago, where the drivers were really struggling in the wind, coming across corners that were somewhat slower, medium speed corners where the downforce really helps, but they aren't going at full speed. Seems like it probably wouldn't be as difficult here, but you are the driver expert. Maybe they're just hiding it really well today, whereas it was especially challenging and obvious on stream at Blackwood.
Well, the low wind on Live for Speed can range, I think, anywhere from about 5 kilometers an hour all the way up to about 25. And at Blackwood, it was a very strong low wind. It was very fast. Whereas today, it may not have been as fast. I haven't heard anything in my ear about the strength of the wind.
Speaking of fast, Vitautas Lagutskas going through the final chicane really quick there. I've seen him go through there a couple times and nearly put the car on his lid, just at the very tiptoes of his tires before the car lands and he takes off for the finish line. Do we Do we think anybody will launch off the final chicane today, or can we get a full race without somebody going on their lid solo?
I reckon with the amount of practice that every driver has done, I don't think they'll be doing it solo, but if anyone tries to go through there 2x2, we could be seeing a major accident.
A mess of tires, anyway.
Definitely. Of course, we know all about a mess of tires, as last round we were at Fern Bay, famous T1 chicane, sends tires flying everywhere, so the drivers will be very prepared in case they see something flying across the track towards them.
Fortunately, none of that here today, bar the final chicane, and I doubt it. I don't know that it's as treacherous here as it is at Fern Bay.
No, I really don't think it is. We've got a new driver to the series joining us today. Jordan Larikov. He's I believe he set the fastest time in pre-qualifying, a 39.99. Only person to dip into the 39s pre-qualifying. I'm looking for his time on. He's in 5th place. He's only 0.02 of a second off his pre-qualifying time at a 40.01. He's a 10th off of Isaac Price, which is always always very pleased that you're that close to such a fast driver.
Yeah, that's a respectable time. Notably, there hasn't been much changing in the order as we've been talking here. I know I've noticed that Isaac Price is a bit quicker than he was earlier, but he looks to be about 0.4 off. Let's see, 47 hundredths off the top, so he's improved ever so slightly. Otherwise, it certainly looks like Vytautas Lagutskas is going to stay there at the top in his. I must say, I'm a little disappointed that he's not in the bus this week driving the XRR, but impressive show from him.
We've only got about 2 minutes remaining on this session, as we've got Karolis Motodoutis on the screen, heading round to finish his lap. Karolis, I guess he normally comes good in the race, but he's setting a very, very respectable time in qualifying. The gaps may look much bigger than what were usual time-wise, but as this is such a long track, the times will be a bit further apart. You know, a couple rounds ago, if we saw a 4-second difference from first to last, we would probably be a bit concerned. But as this track is so long, it's not that big of a deal.
I think even down to about 30th place, the gap is only about 3 seconds. 3 seconds over 2 minutes and 40 is not too bad. Top 20 within 2 seconds of one another. I think it looks like everybody's put in a lot of practice. Worked really hard to bring in to set good times. I think this will be closer than, like you said, Adam. This will be closer than the gaps really might lead us to believe.
On screen just now is Sean Lee in the air attack.
And I guess also the nature of this track, there's...
No, carry on, Adam. Okay, carry on, Adam.
The nature of this track is there's a lot of long straights, and there's a lot of places where you can draft back up to the people in front, so it may be hard to break away if you're at the front.
I was going to say, the on track just now is Sean Lee in his new air attack, sponsored by Pixel Skin now. Gentlemen, does that remind you of anything, that livery?
Oh, it certainly looks very inspired by something.
It's Nail Lotus from the 1980s.
Indeed.
Indeed. Nothing else controversial than motorsport.
Yeah, I won't dredge up any further details, but I'll say that you two have lost me. I just think the style looks reasonably good. It is not a hastily made anime skin. I think this looks respectable to me.
So it seems as though Vytautas Lagutskas is heading for pole position, 239.62. Isaac Price on a lap just now. He is currently in 4th position. Oh no, Yoni Katia beats Lagutskas through 39.58. Just I was saying that, the commentator's curse.
Yeah, but Isaac Price on a lap and a half. He's got a very nice split time there, so I hope we follow him all the way around to the end of the lap. So he comes right round turn 21, almost a carousel type corner that, and he goes onto the grass. That's a shame because that will have cost him. So you see Nico Pontola after finishing his lap. He's ended up in 4th with a nice improvement.
Yeah, Isaac ended up aborting that lap. We got Lavrikov now.
Yeah, Lavrikov again. I think he's one of the last people to come around and set their final time.
It's 49.4 through that split, which isn't bad. I don't know if that will be enough to get him to the top.
I think it will definitely be an improvement as long as he keeps it clean to the end. So I really enjoy this corner. It's quite a challenge though if you do get it a tad wrong. It's hard to get on the power in the XRR with the turbo lag. Coming downhill, spotting the braking zone for this final sequence is very hard, getting the turn in. Drivers will try to cut it as much as possible, scrub off as little time as they can. So runs, try to get as good an exit as possible onto the final straight. No improvement for him.
And that means that Vytautas Lagutskas has taken pole position, boys, by a 10th of a second. That last gasp beat of Joni Katia in 2nd position, with Jarno Lehikoinen on 3rd position, and Nico Pontola on 4th ahead of Isaac Price on 5th. That's quite an interesting grid, and that's quite an interesting session we've just had there. Half a second covering the top 8 despite the length of this track.
I agree. Yeah. Good first showing from Lavrikov. I think I'm a little surprised that Isaac Price is that far down, even though he didn't have that much practice. We typically see him. I think of him as a magical driver because I can't go that fast. Even without the practice, I expected him to go a little bit quicker, but obviously not too far off the top. I really expected more, now that we're looking at 21st down, I really expected more from Zdravko Toponiak. He did the practice and set a good pre-qualifying time. Obviously struggled a little bit to get close to his pre-qualifying time here.
Yeah, I mean... yeah, sorry. Yeah, pre-qualifying, I believe you are able to draft in pre-qualifying. Someone maybe correct me on that if I'm wrong, but he could have had a little help on that time that he wasn't able to have on this time. Even still, as there's such a long track, it's not as big a gap as maybe think to his pre-qualifying time, although he still would have preferred to dip into those 40s.
Yeah, you can definitely draft within the pre-qualifying setup. You can't bump draft. That's been completely outlawed now after the Blackwood round, where we saw some bump drafting, and there's some controversy regarding that. So bump drafting is not allowed, but you can draft. There weren't too many people attempting that. I think. Would you think that up the hill toward at the end of the final sector would be the place to do the drafting?
I think drafting could be powerful on the home straight, down the back straight, and up the hill. It's could be used anywhere really. If you had a whole team of people helping you, you could get draft down every straight.
A train of cars drafting down these straights would be quite interesting. Let's put it that way.
All right, on screen now. We've got the qualifying results one more time. At the top, Vytautas Lagutskas not driving the bus today. He's in a pedestrian XR. Well, I guess the bus is the pedestrian car. He's in a somewhat less pedestrian XRR today. Second place behind him, Yona Katia on the filling out the front row of the grid. And then we've got Leia Koinen and Nico Pantola on the second row. Isaac Price down in 5th. Didn't practice much today. Still setting a very good time. Only half a second off the pole position time. Newcomer Lavrikov in 6th today. And then Pedro Picamco. We've got Lima, Botev, and Lukashchik rounding out the top 10. And then 11th, we've got Sean Lee alongside Darius Bazinskas, Groslani, and Vdaviash in 13th, 14th. We've got Sarah and Ayub Al-Anouni. The next row of the grid, 15th and 16th, and then we've got in 17th and 18th, we've got Hall, we've got Carlos Montioitis, we've got Leipniaks in 19th, and David Gauge rounding out the top 20. And boys, what else do we have to talk about today? You can see the remainder of the grid there from 21st on down. What's the story today? What do we expect? I would like to see Isaac Price put on a show, even though he's not had much practice. But Vidatas Lagouskas, I would say, looks like he's got a commanding advantage today.
Well, lack of practice is definitely going to make a bigger difference in the race than it does in qualifying, because he will not know what sort of strategy he wants to run. Maybe we'll have a little bit of help from Vitautas in that department, though, as he is his teammate. I think Isaac, as he will be practicing as the race goes on, he will be learning the track a bit more, if he doesn't already know it. He will be improving greatly. So it'll be interesting to see, if the safety car, if we get any safety cars, bunch up the grid again, and it will make it a lot closer at the top.
I would say it's going to be very interesting to see what strategy everybody runs, because if I were racing even an FZR today, I'd go R2, R2, because it's certainly a front limited circuit. For all cars out there today, I do expect there to be pit stops by everybody pretty much. I don't think anybody will risk going to the end, but we'll just wait and see on that opening lap, and on the parade lap we will be able to see exactly who's gone for what strategy.
How likely is a safety car today? This is obviously quite a bit different circuit from Fern Bay, where the barriers are in pretty close and there's not much runoff, and any car going off can immediately end up in the way of a train of cars coming by. This track's so wide open, but it's also easy for a car to get beached in the big sand traps. They're the big gravel traps, sorry. Do we anticipate a safety car? Do you think the stewards are willing to let a car that might be kind of in a compromising position go, because there's so much space around the track? How does the risk of a safety car loom over this race?
Not as high as Fern Bay. If there are 9 safety cars today, then I will eat. I don't know what I'll eat, but I'll eat something disgusting. There should be. I think this will go pretty much safety car free. I think it was Adam who was discussing during qualifying that there was a risk of rolling at the final chicane. That certainly is a risk, but there's certainly less of an opportunity. I think it will come down to punctures. If somebody gets punctured in a gravel trap, then that's the only way I can see there really being a safety car. The run to turn 1 is going to be interesting, though. That's possibly the most tricky scenario. We used to see 5-way drafting down there from the leaders. There was an infamous one where 3ID, Synergy, Genuine Racing, and who was the other one? Would have been maybe Inex, potentially Inex. 5 wide into that first corner. So that'll be very interesting to see what happens down there.
Yeah, we are on the Grand Touring layout. We're not going all the way down to the big sweeping Parapoliga-esque corner. We are taking the club turn 1, so there isn't as much chance of a sort of crash there, I guess. But as there is a massive wide straight going into a nice tighter bit of track, there is a lot of opportunity for someone to be spun around.
So as we come together now to pull ourselves onto some kind of grid for this race, it will be another few minutes before the race starts. We would like to bring your attention to a couple of things here on Sim Broadcasts on Twitch that are coming up over the next few weeks. And we have some lovely adverts to show you of what's coming up in the next few weeks. Tomorrow from 19:30 UTC, Sim Broadcast and Master Race Car Prevent Season 2 of GTR on Monday. It's GT1 at Kyoto International. Sim Broadcast will be streaming 6 rounds throughout the season, including this season opener and the season finale in August. August already. We're talking about August already, boys. That's the. I know we're all in lockdown, but crikey, August already. So please come and join us tomorrow for that and everything we do with Master Race Car. It's been a very good partnership so far between the two. So we look forward to having you there again for that. Again, that's 19:30 UTC, GT1 tomorrow at Kyoto for Master Race Cars GTR Monday. And it's a busy week here on Sim Broadcasts. On Tuesday from 18:50 UTC, we bring you Ronnie's Tuesday Fun Extra Large Round 3 from Aston Grand Prix in the XRR. So it's a fairly big GTR week for Sim Broadcasts. 3 in a row. It's quite a thing that'll be, but Ronnie's Fun League is Ronnie's Tuesday Fun League is always a great thing to broadcast. I think last week Pete and the others had quite an entertaining race at West Hill, and it's always a good one to come along and watch. That's Tuesday's action from 18:50 UTC, XR at Aston Grand Prix. You will see the big parabolica corner that Adam was just discussing into turn number 1. And finally, who likes a little bit of iRacing? Adam likes iRacing. Travis, you like iRacing, don't you both?
We do.
I do, and I love the Roval. The Roval is so much fun. This is exciting.
Hey, well, this is going to be a big one. This is Sim Broadcast continues its march into iRacing, and we have round number 2 of the Scottish Motor Racing Club's Esports Racing Spring Cup, and that is, as Travis says, from Charlotte Roval. And you can see our very own Jack Eyre racing in that series. Adam, are you racing in it? I don't think you are you?
I am racing in it.
You are racing
indeed,
in it. I did not see you when I was watching the other day, but I did definitely see Jack on screen. He spent most of the time in the pit, says Pete Butcher, so that's an unfortunate event there. So the second round of the SMRC Esports Racing Cup live on the SMRC YouTube, Facebook, and here on Sim Broadcast Twitch channel from 8 o'clock in the evening UTC on Wednesday. So make sure to join us then. It was very entertaining round 1 the other day, plenty of action, and we have a little trailer now for that. So over to Pete. Yes, 8 o'clock. That will be the round 2 of the SMRC Spring Cup at the Charlotte Roval. Come on, say the word. 8 o'clock UTC on Wednesday. So join us then. We can promise you it's going to be very entertaining. Maybe not as entertaining, Travis, as what you wanted to say.
Yeah, this is really, really exciting for everybody who is just getting into iRacing now. Definitely tune in for this because it's a lot of fun. And if you enjoy watching cars bounce off the curbs in the final chicane here, Adam will have a great show for you over the huge curbs at the Charlotte Roval. So definitely tune in to see him bounce a Miata into the air.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of broken bits of cars strewn all over the track in those last 2 corners.
So we have now, just to discuss things that are slightly more somber, a couple of things that have happened in the last week or so that we want to discuss very, very quickly on simbroadcasts.tv. We would like to address the sad deaths of both Murray Walker and Sabine Schmidt. And I certainly think that when it comes to Murray, everybody in this commentary box is merely playing at being Murray Walker. Certainly for myself, one of my earliest childhood memories is getting up for the 1994 Australian Grand Prix, dragging my poor middle-aged father out of his bed and going down and watching the F1 as Murray screamed in delight as Schumacher and Hill took off and Nigel Mansell was there. And we're merely playing at being Murray Walker. Murray Walker was 97 years old. He's a big part of everybody here's memories of motorsport, and he will be sorely missed. Thank you very much, Murray Walker. You have given the world of motorsport more than you'll ever know. And Sabine Schmidt, who first I'm sure came to the attentions of the people in the United Kingdom, scaring Jeremy Clarkson in a transit van, but she was so much more than that. She was the 2 times winner of the Nürburgring 24 Hours. She was the first woman to win the Nürburgring 24 Hours. She was the queen of the Nürburgring. She was a master at the Nürburgring. She was a master at portraying the Nürburgring's majestic side. Sabine Schmidt, who died the other day at the age of 52, thank you as well. So, thank you everybody for observing that with us. Both of those two have given so many great moments for all of us. So today, let's give them something on this Twitch channel to watch, to know. We all love racing, and we shall see a good one today, gents, I think. Adam, you're not competing today, but what are you looking forward to the most seeing on this track?
It's going to be a lot of fun around here. Plenty of opportunities to overtake, plenty of opportunities to go flying off the track. I think this is going to be a worthy end to what has been a pretty top quality season.
Yeah, and Travis, you've already mentioned that you're looking forward to the curbs.
I am looking forward to those curbs. Perhaps more in a couple days, but that's neither here nor there. We're talking about this event today. I'm looking for a lot from Number Zdravko Toponiak. I'm his #1 fan. He always impresses me when he just shows up and hops in a car to drive. I think Liverkov will impress us today. Newcomer to the series, done really well in qualifying. Near the front of the order. He'll be fun to watch. And then Isaac Price. Isaac Price is always quick. Not as much practice today. I think he'll really impress us with a late effort at this event.
Reminder on screen, though he is not with us today, Joe Holmes is our series champion for 2021, joining Yoni Gatia, who won last year's championship as the champions of the GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing, broadcast here live on Sim Broadcasts. So, we are just waiting the last few people to grid up, and then we will get onto the grid and it will be ready to go. 29 laps today's race will be. 2 minutes 40 second lap, a wide open, fast and tight and twisty, which is a great contradiction there. Aston Grand Touring track. There it is on the track. Jonathan Palmer, it's to be mentioned, is our race director today. Yes, that's the same Jonathan Palmer who was in the broadcast last time out, cursing everybody about safety cars. 9 kilometers an hour wind.
Yeah, 9 kilometers an hour wind. It's going to be interesting to see if that makes much of a difference. Normally, you need to be a bit higher than that to make a huge difference, but the nature of some of these corners on this track does mean that any little wind change can really impact the handling of the
Formation
car.
lap start. Formation lap start.
Indeed, and there they go behind Stuart Baker and his lovely FZ5 for the final time in the championship this season. The drivers are on the parade lap, and this is a very long parade lap. This will take about roughly 5 minutes to complete. The drivers begin to warm up their tyres as they come down toward this first tricky right-hand hairpin, which is a really annoying corner to get right, I find.
Yeah, one thing to note, as you said, this is a 5-minute long parade lap. Drivers need to keep all the heat in their tyres as possible, as much heat in the tyres as possible. It'll be very interesting to see how hot they get the tyres, because the more heat you put into them, the more you wear them, and the more you wear them, the more you need to worry about the tyres popping.
What would you say is an ideal temperature, Adam?
Ideal temperature, if you're on R2s, you really don't want to be going over about 102. And if on R3s, you probably want to stay at around 115, not get any higher than that. Basically, in LFS you get a little tire diagram, and it's got greens and reds to show if your tires at a good temp or a hot temp. You don't want to get into the red. That's the real rule of thumb.
On the topic of tires, because we were talking about compounds earlier and what the strategy might look like, I have gone all the way down the order to Darius Versinskis before I found somebody doing R3, R2, and notably he is in a bus and also not aggressively warming his tires like the drivers ahead of him behind him are. His race, I expect his race is going to be somewhat different from his competitors, given his car and and his tire choice.
Yeah, you're right. I think that this means that everybody will be pitting at least once. There is one FZR, it's Lusky in the FZR that's on R2, R3, and I think that'll probably mean that everybody will pit today, because it is a front limited track, so I can't really see how he could go without pitting, but you know, we'll find out around about laps 18 to 20, I think, when people start making their first round of pit stops.
Sorry, one interesting thing I've just noticed is right at the back of the field we've got Kenny Hansen in 38th place. He's already got a bit of damage on his car. Didn't see how he managed to do that, but hopefully that doesn't cause him much trouble.
Fear it might. That's a lot of damage on the front of that car.
We are into the final sector now as the cars come up the hill, up the long hill, the long last straight that we have on this lap before we hit the hairpin section, then down to the chicane, the tricky chicane, the bouncy chicane. Lagutskas, Katia, Lekoinen, Pantola, Price. That's the top 5. As we slowly trundle down, waiting for Stuart Baker to get out of the way. You can see the hospitality tents there, ready to go. The ambulances, hopefully we won't need them today. There's a caravan there, that's always a worry. But anyway, we move to the chicane. They begin to file up double file. Lagutskas and Katia, the top 2 on the grid. Anyway, Lagutskas has the advantage of pole position. Will he be able to hold it? It should be pretty tricky to hold the lead, I would say, from pole position, because of the drafting, but there they go, out the final corner. Stuart Baker will pull to the left-hand side and leave the leaders to it. It's the Lagutskas Katia on the front row. We await the start of this race, the green flag to be unfurled. It looks as though everybody's in a pretty good formation for once this season. Green flag is given. Immediately, Isaac Price jumps out from behind Lekkikonen and is into 3rd position. Pantola is trying to draft Katia. Lagutskas has held the lead. The front 2 got a really good jump there on the start of this race. Price gives a little nudge to Katia. Price gets a little nudge from Lecky Coyne 4 wide into turn number 1. Lagutskas holds the lead and looks as though it's at Botev trying to slip up the inside. Lagutskas runs wide and Katia and Price are straight through and into first and second position. Lagutskas ran wide, having held the lead all the way down the first corner. He's now side by side with Price into the second chicane. He touches the back of Katia, but it's Katia in the lead at the moment. Price is down to third position again, but he's swarming all over the back of these two. These three are teammates, are they not? In this series, Price ran the outside, Pantola goes around the outside, Lucky Coyne as well, and that's the front five. They've changed positions, but they still remain the front five. It's Katia and Price now side by side into the second hairpin. It immediately leads into a left-hander, and Price has got the lead now from fifth on the grid. Round the outside goes Lagutskas of Katia as well, and Pantola gets to run out of the corner. Katia goes from first to fourth in the series of hairpins. Price from fifth to first leads. Lagutskas is second. Pantola's going for second now, and Lecky Coyne is up the inside of Katia, and they're all pushing down this back straight. Katia almost goes in the middle of the two, but he thinks back to it. Lagutskas down the inside of Katia. Pantola takes third position back as they come into the uphill right-hander, and it's a frantic start at Aston.
The aero drop really affecting Nico as they go 3 wide again. Contact with Joni Katila trying to make it in the middle of those two as Nico Pantola slides on the exit. Yep, Joni's going around the outside.
Now that Forney's managed to get a breath, I want to talk a little bit further down the order. There's obviously lots of excitement there at the front, but all the way down the order, there were cars 3 and 4 wide. Through the first half of the lap, I want to call out Sentu Sara passed 3 cars in one corner coming into the series of hairpins on the first lap. Really impressive, exciting, clean driving from everybody. Super fun to watch so far, and we've got 28 more laps of this.
Out of nowhere, Lagutskas has taken the lead back from Isaac Price in the sweepers. Price is all over the back of his teammate, the 2-Chat Esports cars. He is holding back and holding back. Is he going to go for the lead down into this hairpin before the end of the lap? It's Lagutskas leading for Price. Doesn't look like Price is going to make the move on the inside. He is staying behind his teammate for just now. And in third position, maintaining a watching brief, is Jarno Lekkakoinen in third position.
Behind we have Jordan Larikov up the inside of Nico Pantola. Nico makes it easy for him, as he will be setting up for a move right down this front straight as we got Pedro Pacanco round in the chicane. The first victim wiped out all the tyres.
That's unfortunate there. You saw there was him spearing off to the right-hand side there, and that's an unfortunate moment there for Pedro Pacanco. A lot of damage on that car. Price is down the inside now, and he's around the outside. Lagutskas is going to hold him off, but Price is going to go for the under. And look there, there's another car right there as well. These three battling hard. These three seem to be together the whole way through this opening lap. Lagutskas into the chicane now, holding off Price for the lead. It's Lagutskas, Price, Lekkoinen in third position, and Joni Katia's caught them up as well. He runs a little bit wide in the chicane. Pantola's back ahead of into fifth position as well in the top FZR. So it's 4 XRs, then it's Nico Pantola in fifth position in the FZR, and is that Vajinskas coming through up into 7th position in the bus.
7th position around this track in the bus. We'll have to see if he keeps that. I really hope he does, because that could be very interesting in the late race. Seems to have evened out a bit, but as I said, all the way down this straight you can have all that draft. There's Isaac takes an interesting line round it.
You can tell Isaac's done this before. That there's a little gully down that straight that takes the load off the tyres and cools the tyre down. That's one of the tricks we used to do in Masters of Endurance when we were trying to extend stints. Back when I was young. Sad. Anyway, here's 2 buses and an XR and a FZR. Is that Weber? Yes, it's Weber going around that side of Benoit and Lusky, and is that Lima? It must be, yes, Lima and the XR. So those 4 are having a battle. So it's Araujo having a battle there in the midfield. It's all very tight in that midfield. There's not really been much spread through there so far. There's a little bit more spread at the front, as Lagutskas has gained a little bit on Price on this lap, and he appears to have decided to try and check out.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Lekkoinen's going to have a chance on Price.
Oh!
Not quite in his draft.
There? Sorry, contact them. It's Benoit who almost went around. I think we just caught that on the stream. Benoit getting pushed around there by Weber in the long left-hander before the straight there.
Sorry to interrupt. We've got Jordan Larikov trying round the outside of Nico Pontola into turn 21. Doesn't pull it off. He will be saving that move for the home straight.
He's just paying Nico back for what Nico did last time, wasn't he? Because this is the exact thing Nico did. He didn't make the move. He let him go. The last time he's through the tyres. He's through the tyres, and that's given the advantage to Pontola. He will not be. Jordan Larikov will not be able to make the move on Pontola this lap. Fastest lap of the race, Lagutska's 2:42.31, so around about 2 seconds off.
William Lima, sorry to interrupt, has pushed Motodutis onto the grass. That's let Lucas Dick try around the outside of William Lima. Will he make the move? It's a nice one around the outside here. Lima almost spins it, goes into the side of Lucas Dick, and seems to have saved it, but has lost 2 positions in the process.
Off the back of what we were looking at a minute ago, Larikov is now under pressure for Vajinskas for 7th position. But it would be 6th actually, sorry, position. And behind them is Botev and Lee, right behind them. It's a 4-way battle. Vajinskas up the inside. Can he make it stick for 6th position? He's going to go the long way around, but if any car can manage that, it's that bus. And there we go, straight round the outside. Beautiful move for Vajinskas up into 6th position. Larikov's gone from on the attack to on the defensive. Well, this is going to be very interesting. This is going to be a nice little train, as we were discussing earlier, Adam.
Botav being stuck behind those two had to linger on the apex, and that's let Sean have a look. He's totally boxed in. He's wiggling around. That was an incredible save.
Yeah, it seemed like he got caught in the right rear of Vajinskas. That was a good save there from Botev. As Lee
really patient driving from Darius Vajinskas early in the lap to set up that pass, using the advantage coming out of the hairpins to have the racing line, and then just doesn't have the pull with the power restriction on the FXR. Managed to keep these guys behind him, so well done to him, with a lot of excitement, cars banging into him.
Of course, every time you battle, you're letting people behind you catch up, and Patrick Hole was having a little look on Borislav Botev there, but he fended him off.
It was a good example there of the FXR, Travis, where it has the advantage out of the exit corners. However, right now Vajinskas is being caught and passed by Sean Lee. It seems as though there was no traction there. There was no traction zone. There was no ability to get out of the corner there. Lee much quicker, much tighter line, and sweeps straight past before turn number 21 into 7th position. Sean Lee giving a good run so far. Here comes Vajinskas back at him now. Now we know this car can go around the outside. Can he make it stick again? Little bit of contact. Sean runs slightly wide into Vajinskas. Now Botev wants a little bit of the hair of them as they come down into the chicane. Botev will be looking to set this one up down the main straight and try and slingshot past both of them. Lee runs wide in the chicane. Lee gets up on 2 wheels. Vajinskas into, and Botev hits the tyres and is in the wall. Botev, as I was saying. And so there's another car there. It's one of the it's Lima running wide in the chicane, so that's terrible damage for Boris Botev. He was looking to make the move, just as Larikov was last lap, and again he hits the tyres and hits the walls. Katia does the fast lap, 2:41.42, and at the front he is right behind Isaac Price. It's frenetic.
That's given Darius Vajinskas a little bit of breathing room. Sean Lee obviously pulling him down the straight, Vajinskas using the slipstream as much as he could to keep up. The FZR definitely has more power, was able to close the gap even though he was compromised with the accident through the chicane there. But Darius Vajinskas all over Sean Lee again, coming into the hairpins. You can see the leader's not too far ahead of them, so very much in this race. Vajinskas not close enough to get alongside here.
Yeah, at the front it's still so close. These 3 drivers have always been similar pace to each other. Yoni Katila will have the draft from Isaac, but it won't be enough to make a move. In the background we've got again Darius having a look at Sean Lee. It's very hard to judge the draft down these straights. You don't want to get too much and you don't want to pass them before the corner because they'll have the draft back at you.
Side by side, just about making contact. Vajinskas makes the move. Stick. He's really getting on well with the outside line today, lads.
Yeah, dare I say that was uncharacteristically patient from Sean Lee as he has a look up the inside. I thought that was going to be a big send, but Vajinskas managed to stay ahead. He'll try to defend through here, but it's going to be really hard to keep the power down and the pace up with Sean Lee right behind him and taking a shallower entry into the corner. But the grip from the all-wheel drive. The all-wheel drive bus seems to be doing the job. A little bit of a gap now. And now Sean Lee has traffic behind him to worry about with Patrick Hall.
I mean, just looking at Darius's tyres, they're already getting quite hot, so he will have to worry about Sean Lee even more and his pace. Again, Sean making the move incredibly early on this straight, and Darius will slot right back into the slipstream. Whether he has a look now or later on, let's see. As he look round the outside.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Darius Rosinskis is a hard but fair racing driver. I imagine at some point he will let Sean Lee decide how badly he wants that position.
Back at the front, Nikatia has the draft on Isaac Price in the battle for second position. Lukatska slightly ahead of the two of these. Here goes Johnny Katia down the main straight, and he's pulling out to pass his teammate, or I don't know, actually teammate in this, are they? Sorry, but he pulls out and passes Isaac Price down the main straight, and Johnny Katia takes second position away from Isaac Price. You were talking there, Adam, about the FX are looking quite warm on the tyres. I was watching Weber for Heroes of Racing with the lovely Erdinger skin last night, and he definitely had to pit during this state that he was doing. Here's Patrick Hall on the back of Sean Lee now as they go through the chicane. Hall in the FZR to lime green, just very distinctive FZR all over the back of Sean Lee, but Lee pulls out a little bit of an advantage in the draft. No way through in that fast chicane.
Behind them we've got William Lima trying to make any sort of opportunity work on Toponiak. You have a massive draft down this back straight as well. Toponiak's messed up the exit, so this is going to be a tricky one to judge for William Lima. Goes to the inside. He will have this move done before this really interesting corner, to be honest. It's 7 and 8. Going too wide here is simply not an option.
Yeah, so that's actually Toponiak making a very good start there from his good position, Travis. So that was your tip for watching today, and quietly he's made his way right to the front of the midfield.
He has. He's been steadily making his way forward. Bit of a mistake there, compromised and lost that position to William Lima, but I don't see why he wouldn't continue moving forward. He also tends to get quicker. This is from my experience watching. He tends to get quicker as the race goes on. Gets really comfortable with the car as the laps tick down. He'll be stronger at the end. I don't know that he's going anywhere near the front, but I'd be surprised if he finishes the race in 14th.
Joni Kittel is closed up on Lugukas on this lap. Not quite close enough for a decent draft, but he is slowly gaining on him.
Adam, how much fuel can these guys save running in the slipstream down these really long straights? Obviously, it uses a lot of fuel to run wide open for 2 miles of this 5.5 mile circuit. Can that save them a lap or two and really impact the strategy, or is the effect not that pronounced?
Well, quite often in these cars, depending on the track, you will take most of your fuel at the start and only fuel up a little bit in the box. So they won't need to save that much anyway, unless they're purposefully going for a low fuel strategy, which is less likely. You want to worry about the tyres a lot more than the fuel. As in the background, we've got Sean Lee and Patrick Hall going 2x2 into the first corner. Patrick Hall with the outside line, which quite often does work, but Sean Lee pushes him right to the edge, shuts the door completely.
It was a bit of a swipe there, I think you would call that, but so Lee maintains. Here's Lushjak coming past there. Matajutis is who he's overtaking there for 10th position. That's another gap, and Kapal is right all over the three of them.
Kapal's another that's made a lot of moves. He's already up to 12th from about 21st on the grid.
Indeed. I was going to say, sorry, back onto fuel. You need roughly 70% in the XRR to do this race. So I would imagine that they will be running a bit more of a split strategy, since they'll certainly have to pit. Look at these three, Bob drafting down the straight. Lushtek, Montevicius and Kapal are side by side into left-right. Good grief!
Martin
They are
Kampal.
going. Woofed. They are going. They are going through their side by side, Adam, and somehow they all survive.
That's a lot of respect needed there. Very, very calculated racing. Well done to them for making that work. Of course, Motodutis comes out on top of that. We'll be looking to make a gap now, as Kapal won't be able to follow that close in the dirty air.
It's a very difficult section to follow in, especially if you get a little bit of dirt on your tyres, which they avoided there. This corner here, the left-hander, is probably one of Live for Speed's most spectacular corners. You can almost do it flat in some circumstances, as you then rise back up the hill, and then this long left takes you out onto the back straight, one of the back straights here before the final set of corners.
Now that we have a moment to breathe, we can should we go down the order, guys? We got Vitautas Laguskas at the top, with Yannick Attila right behind him and Isaac Price not too far behind. Though it looks like the gap to from Yannick Attila to Isaac Price grown just a little bit in the last lap. We've got Janele Koinen in fourth, Nico Petula running right behind him in fifth in the FZR. We've got Lavrikov, the newcomer, in sixth, with Darius Vazinskas in the bus, not too far behind, with a little bit of a gap over Sean Lee now, who is fighting Patrick Hall in ninth.
Sorry, we've got Sean Lee round. Sean Lee's round, luckily, actually, he does have a lot of left-hand side damage, and his tyres are totally wrecked. So this is an unplanned pit stop for him. I'm wondering if he will take R2 or R3 and try and get to the end, or if he can make it to the end on an R2 or R2 new fresh set of tyres. We'll have to wait and see.
Sorry, this is roughly where they can just make it. Just make it. It's around 24 laps before the tyres are gone in practice I've seen. So Sean may just get away with that one. And unfortunately, spin. This chicane is really catching out people today.
Yeah, behind them we've got Svajda in the 99. Looks like he's making it
he's got a stop
a planned, a scheduled stop. So
no,
as you say,
he's serving a stop go for an infringement earlier in the race, and then he didn't do his drive-through, so he's now got a 10-second stop go penalty.
But now that we've gotten a bit of customary Sean Lee excitement, shall I resume? That promoted Patrick Hall to 8th, whereas before he was 9th. We put Karolis Montioitis up to 9th. And now Martin Kapal, one of our own Sim Broadcast teammates, right there in 10th place.
Beautiful move there from Lukastik and William Lima, making that side-by-side work again. I don't know how they're doing this. Very fair racing. William Lima making his way up through the grid.
Yeah,
one thing to note. Yeah, I'm quite confused. He served the stop-go penalty, but am I not wrong in saying there's a specific box that they need to serve that in, or is that? Yeah, I'm hearing in my ear that he did not stop in the sin bin. So.
Glad you recalled a sin bin. I was trying myself to recall what it was and could only come up with the box of shame, but I knew that was not it.
So yeah, that was actually a stop and not a stop-go penalty. So he will have to actually serve this stop-go in the next 3 laps, as that one will not count to the lap count for the stop-go.
Yeah.
As up in front, Yoni's got a run on Lagutkas. He's made that very early on the straight. This means Lagutkas will have the draft back. He will be able to make another move. Yoni goes to the inside to defend. Lagutkas goes around the outside. He's got a big overspeed. Yoni's late on the brakes, gets it stopped nicely as Lagutkas tries the cutback. Beautiful move there. Almost rubbing into each other, but not quite. Lagutkas gets the lead into this chicane.
Yeah, he made a bit of a mistake coming out of the final chicane and just touched the tires and was able to let Yoni come alongside. Really smart move by him. Great, brilliant racecraft to do the over-under in the hairpin and then a little bit defensive to keep the lead through that series of sweeping corners.
During all of this, Pedro Bacanco has retired, so top 10 qualifier. had a massive incident at the chicane, and he's out. As on your screens again, Yoni Katila making a move for the lead. Side by side going into this very risky 7-8 section. Holds the inside, Legutkas holds the outside. Legutkas with an amazing defense managed to keep it around the outside. Yoni looking to make the move, but is too little too late for this lap, as he will not be able to keep the gap this close running up this nice sweeping S's section.
Courageous and precise driving from both of them to stay side by side there, and then a really good defense into the 180-degree right-hander there. I don't know how much longer they can keep this up. They're going to have Isaac Price all over them in just a few moments' time if they keep running side by side like this.
It's not just Isaac. They've got Lekikoinen just caught right back up to them. They're all trying to hold back, trying to be patient, waiting for something to go on up ahead so they can capitalize on it. So far, Yoni and Vitautas have been faultless, so they haven't really been able to make a move. As Isaac, in the draft, right past Yoni on the straight, times that to perfection, so Yoni has no answer to it.
He was so deep on the brakes into the corner there too. I like how we talked about that corner a little bit earlier, how just how fun it is to drive through there. You can go late on the brakes and really use the banking to slow the car down as Isaac goes sailing right past the tires. I went looking for an explanation for why Legutkas might have struggled on the last lap, and his tires look fine. He's got a bit of dirt on them, but that's normal going over the curbs to that chicane. I think he just made a couple of mistakes, though it looks like he's managed to get his head in the right place. Now has a bit of a gap over Isaac Price, who was racing Yoni Katila just a few moments ago.
One thing to note is, this battling, Legutkas really wanted to dispatch of Yoni so that they're not battling, because they really need to protect those tires, keep them for later in the race. So we've got Butev and Gorzlani in the pits. Motojutis in the pit lane as well, with a lot of damage on his car. So we obviously missed what happened to Carlos. Bit of contact maybe, and he's repairing that. Looks like he's chose not to fix the damage. Maybe a scheduled stop, or maybe he's just spun round a bit and has had to change those tires.
Well, I just saw a notice too that there's a penalty for Martin. So I wonder if the two of them got together. If that penalty's unrelated, we'll have to go in search of more information and see what happened there.
Is it Martin? I don't believe it is Martin. It's the 67. Martin's the 69.
Sorry, last name Martin, not Martin Capal.
So it's Steve Martin. So yeah, Stephen Martin for SMR Enterprises. He's Owen's teammate.
And Spikja was also just in pit lane, having served a penalty. Could also have been related to the stop we saw from Matiotis just a few moments ago. Not sure yet. We'll see if we can find more information there.
To note that it's not a penalty, it's a caution for Steve Martin. So he's okay. As we see on screen, we've got Larikov. He's kept that gap pretty consistent to Nico. He's not been able to gain much, but he's not lost much. These guys, of course, are all getting very close to the leaders. If Nico can get the pace on a little bit more, he will be right up behind Lekikoinen. As we see.
Sorry to interrupt you, Adam. I'm looking at Zhdavka and Punyak further down the order. My favorite driver in this event has had some damage, gone off somewhere, dropped from 14th position down to 18th. Not sure what happened there. Anticipated he'll probably want to come in and repair that, but now most of his progress is undone. He started around 20th place, now in 18th, having moved all the way up to 13th. Bit disappointing for him.
Yeah, I don't know what happened
to stay out, though the car ahead of him ducked into the pits. is Staukevicius in the pits, Sean Lee's teammate. Notably, Staukevicius was giving Zdravko Duponiak a bit of a guff before the race, wondering why he was so much slower than his pre-qualifying time.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to talk about is Santu Sara, well, my teammate. He started well. I think he started in the top 20. Got spun round on the opening lap. Has already made his pit stop. In front we've got Duponiak has been spun around himself, I believe.
He was going up the inside of Weber, and he got pinched into the inside there. We did see it on broadcast. That was unfortunate. You were saying about Sarah, though. He's had made his pit stop.
He's also just gone by Owen Harmon. I had noticed on the opening lap he passed 3 cars. They were 4 wide coming through the series of hairpins here, and obviously something has gone awry for him to be back down to 31st after a great start.
Lekkinen again breaking off from the top 3. As they were battling earlier on, he did get a nice chance to catch up, but they're breaking away again.
Hello.
Do you suppose Lekkinen lacks the pace, or is he just biding his time while the 3 ahead of him fight?
I think he is probably well, I think he does lack the pace a little bit. If he was biding his time, he would be up close. There is a chance that he is preserving his tyres, but those up front will be preserving their tyres as well. So be interesting to see. He's definitely within a second there, so I wouldn't be too concerned. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a 10th a lap slower. Scatilla is making a move on Lagutkas round the outside this time. Can he get it stopped in time? I think he's going to do it because he's going to have a beautiful exit. Maybe not. Lagutkas is on the power early. To go 2x2 through this chicane is very hard. They're going to do it. Lagutkas just sticks in there, pushing him right to the wall. Beautiful move there from Ioni. Very respectful. As Lagutkas gives him a wee tap onto the entry of turn 4, but Ioni's got the move done.
Camera angle that you guys saw there on TV does not show how close to the tyres in that chicane Vitautas Lagutkas was. Gutiérrez also broken the draft, Adam and Travis. That's very, very quick to be doing that. And now Price is coming for Lagutkas in second position. Here goes
really impressive. Really impressive to do all that side by side.
This would have been the perfect time for Ajit to give Lagutkas a little bit of a bump draft, but that's banned now, so...
Which team was bump drafting, Adam? Who was involved in a bump draft at Blackwood?
Quite a lot of people, but I believe I was.
I think the most notable one. I think the most notable one was Dennis Lind. That's the one I recall, anyway.
He incorrectly got a penalty for that. And, now the stewards have cleared up the rules, and bump drafting is a firm no now.
So, Chris, I want to highlight this, that Chris mentioned a moment ago, that the pictures on the broadcast did not really do justice to just how difficult it is for the 2 cars to go side by side and just miss the tires coming out of that series of sweeping corners. Impressive by Lagutkas to stay on the outside through that sweeping right-hander, because it's pretty badly off camber, so you lose a fair bit of grip on the outside. It's hard to overstate just how impressive his driving is.
It was a beautiful manoeuvre. I mean, it's difficult at the best of times to go through their single file, let alone double file, and to manage it without making any kind of contact as well. As a remarkable respect for each other they show. And there we go. And just looking now, Nico Pantola started to catch up a little bit in the FZR. Would you expect the FZR to come a little bit more alive as the stint goes on, Adam?
Compared to the XRR, I think a bit. It really does like the kind of coolish tyres get on the power extremely early in the FZR.
Oh, he's in the tyres. Who's that in the tyres? Capel somehow he went over the tyres. I think there, as you would have seen from Walter Lima's car. William Lima, sorry, not Walter Lima. Up on two wheels, and he seemed to fly over the top of the tyres. Does he have any damage? That's the main thing for him just now.
Yeah, I think he's incredibly lucky to avoid any damage there. He's got a little on his front left there, and a tad on his front right, but really nothing that's going to cause him any issues. So he's really dodged a bullet there.
How on earth did he manage that? That was almost part one of the curb issue, causing an issue there. But look at these four at the front now. Now, like he kind of looks like he's caught up a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about him some more. He's, I guessed, perhaps with less expertise and information than Adam, that he's just biding his time and hanging out because he hasn't really fallen back. Kind of expected that he might catch up a little bit with the racing the leaders were doing just in front of him, but he's still there, lurking.
Darius Vazinskas is on a charge at the moment after this front six. He's just done a 59.87 second split, which is about half a second quicker than the leaders. This could be the fastest lap for Vazinskas.
That's
insane. Caught Lavrikov a lot too.
That's insane in a car like that.
They're catching as well.
We'll have to keep an eye on this because I think it's fair to say by everybody's reactions that nobody expected that kind of pace out of the bus, but he's doing it.
I think one thing to note is that the leaders, they have been battling. They have noticed that everyone behind them is catching up. They will be aware of this and they will start to push if they feel threatened. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some fast laps coming up from the leaders soon enough, if they do feel like those behind are a threat at all.
Adam, how much grip, how much tire performance do you give up going from R2 to R3? Because I'm looking for Zitskas and noticing that the tires are in really good shape. He is in the sweet spot now, just a little bit hot on the left front, but it comes off when he goes down the straight. Obviously he's making it work because he set a very quick lap, but are these tires going to be able to compete with R2s on the leaders, or is it going to fall off?
In the FZR at least, it was a little difference. There was enough to mean that I probably wouldn't be able to hold it around the outside in places that I would be able to do on the R2s, but you know, in normal kind of hot lapping type, when I'm not in a battle, the R3s are just as fast as the R2s, so that's probably why Darius is managing to go so fast.
We've had another spin at the chicane. Weber has spun at the chicane and come immediately into the pit lane, so he will take his set of tyres for the remainder of this race now as a result of that spin. He was going quite well as well. I think he was up in the high echelons of the midfield.
I think it is quite interesting to note as well, going back to the fast laps at the front, is as soon as we saw Darius make that first split time, that was about half a second faster, Joni Katila. Oh, Lehikoinen's lagging out there. He is, currently his car has disappeared. He's got a 30-second timer, so we're losing our fourth place driver here. If he doesn't connect back in, and he's timed out. We've lost one of our front runners here due to lag. That's a massive development here.
That's a real shame for him because he was driving well, sticking with the leaders, and not lost much time to them. As we have pictures of Loguskas now all over the back of Isaac Price. That does promote Darius Brzezinskis. Adam, you were saying that the leaders had responded, and as you were talking about that, I did a quick peek at the front of the order, and Darius Brzezinskis had the fastest first split time on the last lap, but was notably only 100th quicker than the next fastest one, and all of the leaders were within a 10th. So I think you're right; they have picked up on his charge and are now bringing up the pace ever so slightly.
Of course, this promotes everyone behind Lehikoinen up a place, which means we've got Jordan Lavrikov up into the top 5. I would say, I mean, Jordan Lavrikov is a very been around in Live for Speed for a while, but we haven't seen him recently at all. As we see him on screen, nearly lose it.
Close, Adam. That was close to you receiving your first commentator's curse of GT2 challenge.
Yeah, it definitely wouldn't be my first commentator's curse, but I've yet to curse NDR yet, so we'll have to see.
Well, so, it may or may not be. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I went into NDR earlier, and I said, "Oh, I don't expect any safety cars," and I got cursed and thrown out the race control room. So, you know, I've done it, so it's fine.
So I don't know about commentators' curses, but I do enjoy seeing Adam's prophetic calls just moments before they come true. He was talking about how the leaders had picked up the pace slightly, and then Joni Katila promptly set the fastest lap of the race as he came through. So they have figured out that there is a chase behind them, and now they're trying to extend their lead ever so slightly.
Yeah, are you suggesting that much like photos taken before disaster, we have Adam Brown statements before disaster? Will we get our own Reddit page for that?
I would. That'd be very fun. I've got a brilliant clip from the Blackwood round. I literally say, I'm surprised there's been no safety cars yet, and in the exact same second I finish that sentence, Jonathan Palmer comes over the radio and says, "Safety car, safety car." It's I think I've got definitely some sort of curse.
I'm willing to make a tall tale out of this and suggest you did it twice, because there were 2 safety cars during that event. I have no idea if it's true, whether or not you called the second one, but I'm going to tell people you did.
It seems like a very fair assumption.
Definitely. Maybe I need to get some sort of genie to see if I've got any weird spiritual happenings. Anyway, we have the leaders. They've stopped battling each other. They've probably worked out that doesn't get them anywhere, and they're on a charge. They're setting fastest lap after fastest lap. Joni Katila with a really rapid second split again.
Yep, so we're halfway through this race already. 14 of the 29 laps will have been completed at the end of this lap. There they go, across the line. Half distance is approaching. And we have a battle here between Sarah, Adam's teammate, and our own sim broadcast Owen Harman. Well, there we go. That was a battle, and now it's not.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard for Owen to follow through this fast sweeping section. If he stays close enough, he might be able to make a move down the kind of sweeping back straight that we have at the end of this lap, but doesn't look like it.
It's a shame we never did the jingle for Owen Watch. That would have been very useful at that point there.
So in front, I'm just watching the times, and it's really entertaining. More entertaining that Adam is so good at making these calls, and somewhat less entertaining, but still quite entertaining that these drivers are so skilled. Joni Katila and Isaac Price set identical times on the last lap, and then they came through the first split within 400ths of each other. And now they've done the same thing again through this split, within a tenth of one another.
Lucas Cass's first split was exactly a minute long, and Katila and Price basically the same. As in the back, we've got Taukvicius has spun round at the chicane. Looks like he's managed to avoid any damage, but his tyres are red hot, and that's especially annoying seeing that he's already pitted and he has to take those tyres to the end.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem now. I think, what lap did he pit? If he pitted at any point after lap 10, he should be okay.
Yeah, I think it was around lap 10, so he should be able to make it home, but he will have to nurse those tyres for quite a while, and he will be slower for the next few corners on this lap.
Are you surprised so far that while we've had calamities in the chicane that we haven't actually had a roller yet? They have been very, very close to getting a roller. Certainly Martin Capel somehow getting away with one, but it does seem as though a lot of drivers are taking a lot of risk in that final chicane.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's good to see that we haven't had any drivers try and make it too wide through there yet, because when you try and make it too wide through that chicane, something's bound to go wrong. So maybe we'll get some interesting moves later in the race, as up front Isaac Price is gaining on Yoni, gets the fastest lap.
Yeah, Katia touched the tyres, Adam, as you were discussing the chicane. Yoni Katia came so close to charging through those tyres himself, and that gave Price almost an opportunity to make a move. Katia sliding wide in that first hairpin there, that difficult hairpin. The Gutskas has dropped off these two a little bit, Adam, though, at the moment, and it seems as though Katia and Price are about to join in battle, maybe down this back straight into 7 and 8. Capel pits, he's had an entertaining drive so far. From 10th position out goes Martin Capel into the pit lane. We are now over halfway. Katia holding off Isaac Price. Price will be hoping to get the good run out of this sort of chicane that we have here. This is a very frustrating part of the track, isn't it, Adam? Especially in the XR.
Yeah, you really... The GT2 intake restriction does help you on the power, but even still, the turbo lag can really... You really need to be careful on the exit, as we've lost another driver due to lag. We've lost connection to Daniel Balla, who was on the podium last time around.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He had a great run at Fernbay, as did Martin Capel, of course, as well. In fact, we had quite a few good drives that day. A very chaotic race. This one so far has been less chaotic. There's been plenty of action so far. Katia, Price, the Gutskas are top 3. Lap 16 out of 29.
So, we've just had a message from Race Control saying that Jared Mead has had a drive-through penalty. Now that I'm not sure it was the InSim that called that, or if it was NDR's Race Control app. Of course, they will review every drive-through to make sure that it's a legit drive-through. So we'll find out soon enough whether that's a drive-through or not, as his teammate also made a pit stop, Reg LeBlanc. So Daniel Balla, I was not aware you were able to rejoin after a timeout, but he has rejoined. He's at the back of the grid, but he has been given his laps back. He's still on the lead lap, luckily enough.
Through the chicane, charging there in the background is Vitautas Lagutskas, who nearly again clipping the tyres. He's starting to make a little bit of inroads back into these two. I wonder if they're just playing a little bit with each other here. We're approaching the point where they're probably going to have to make a pit stop because the tyres will not go the entire distance. Would you rather, Adam, be the first to pit or the last to pit?
In a battle like this, right at the front, I would probably prefer to be the last to pit. In Live for Speed, the longer you go on the tyres, as long as they don't get too cold, the faster they'll become. So if you can stretch the tyres out longer, the faster you'll go. So the more likely you will be to come out on top of the pit stop.
Not knowing these three, they'll annoy us by all pitting in the exact same lap, which would take a little bit of the drama away. Price is up the back of Katia just now. They're both going to use that gully trick down the back straight. No way through there for Isaac Price, and Katia maintains his lead. We're looking at Botev there.
Botev he's hit the tyres at the chicane. Looks like he's gone into a wall or two, and he's got a lot of damage on that car. He's decided to continue on, even with a red hot right rear tyre, so interesting to see what he decides to do at the end of this lap.
That's unfortunate for Boris. He was having a good start to the race. Of course, we saw him shooting off. I think he was the first victim of the chicane on lap number 3. So a second trip through the wall there. Now he's up the back of Lushki. We look now at Sean Lee in the black and gold car, and now Magic coming out of the pit lane have made his pit stop, just being overtaken there by Sarah in the CSF Esports car.
Yeah, CSF Esports is kind of a mix of, well, you've got Nico Pantola up in 4th doing a stellar job, and you've got Santu right at the back with quite an unlucky race so far. And indeed, I'm in the commentary box, so...
alongside the person you named the damn team after.
Indeed.
Very happy, very happy, very happy.
Clearly a team of multiple talents.
I got to say, Nico, this is Nico Mantola at his very, very best, isn't it? Nico is a remarkably experienced driver. I give him a little bit of stick sometimes, but he does a very, very good job, Nico Mantola, and he's having a great run in 4th position. He's had a very good season, actually, in many respects. He's been unlucky at a few of the tracks, as we see Botev has passed Lushki for 17th position, so Botev making his way back through, having had that spin. You can see Stephen Martin right behind Lushki looking to make a move. Here comes the Gutskas on Isaac Price for second, and that's the job done. 39.49 out of absolutely nowhere for Vitautas. The Gutskas fastest lap of the race. Price sticks it back down the inside. They're now holding each other up, and Katia's getting away, and this is good for Yoni Katia. Vitautas, the Gutskas, takes second position ahead of Isaac Price, drops back to 3rd. So Price, who looked like he was making a move on Katia, has suddenly dropped back, and he runs wide with that draft. You can see the aerodynamic forces on the front of the car there, forcing the car to not turn into the corner, and he now drops back to 3rd position, drops back off this leading pair. The Gutskas is immediately onto the back of Katia.
It's interesting how he's suddenly come alive, because 1 lap ago, Isaac Price looked happy to be right behind Yoni Katila. Yoni Katila had a couple big slides coming through the first sequence of corners, and it looked like Isaac may have finally put enough pressure on him. And now suddenly Isaac back to 3rd. Not sure what happened there. Yoni obviously doing just fine, and Laguskas suddenly deciding that he wants 2nd place and to run for the lead.
I think one thing to note is looking at their tyres. Gutskas looks like he's going to have to pit a lap or 2 earlier than both Yoni and Isaac. So he will be trying to push now to get the most out of them before having to worry about making a pit stop.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm looking myself, and there's visibly more. It's nice that Live for Speed gives us this information. You wouldn't get this in other simulators, and certainly not in real racing. There's visibly more tread. So I think you're right that Laguskas using those tires to try to gain positions, but going to compromise him on strategy.
I think another thing to note about the top 4 is that they're all in a TeamSpeak channel together. They're all talking to each other. They're all discussing. Well, I'm not sure if they're discussing anything. They might be hurling insults at each other. We don't know, but yeah, they're all chatting to each other in a call. So
speaking of tires a bit further back, Nico Pantola's has plenty of tread on his, but starting to get a bit cold at the front. And then Lavrikov's tires, a bit thinner, but in the sweet spot right now. And then Verzinskas, who has the bit between his teeth. Those tires really starting to go off, getting a bit thin, and also starting to cool quite a bit. So a lot yet to unfold with these guys in the back, or not in the back, but further back from the leaders.
As Santu Sara makes a move on this back straight, gets it done nicely before the turn 8 section here. He's on a charge now that he's settled down into this race. Hopefully we'll making up a few more places. Yeah, Nico Pantola's tyre situation is interesting because his tyres are in much better condition than those around him. You know, his rears are similar to Isaac's in front, but his fronts have got plenty tread left on them, so he'll be pitting a lot later than those around him.
Does he not need to put some more heat in them to really make them work, or is it enough that the surface temperatures are good and he has plenty of tread left?
I think the major thing is that the surface temperatures are still in that kind of green area, and they are. I mean, with the LFS tyres, as long as you're ready for the cold shouldn't be a big deal.
in the section he's just going into, he will get a lot of heat through these front tyres. That's when this section that he's going into just now with the fast left-hander is where those tyres will heat up. It's just down the straights how much temperature you lose per lap is where it'll be. But that is interesting. I just add up that Nico's tyres look in such good position. Now, could Nico Patola produce a massive surprise and not make a pit stop? Let's wait and find out. Somebody who is definitely going to make a pit stop next, or I believe so, is Vitautas Lagutskas. He's going for Ioni Katia for the lead. Isaac Price has dropped back off. You are on board with Lagutskas, who was on pole position for this race. He is definitely in the draft of the race leader Ioni Katia. Sawing the wheel through that long left-hander up the hill, 140 miles an hour as it says there on the dashboard. He's in the slipstream of Katia. He's bouncing around in this bumpy section of the track, going to the outside for turn number 21, and is he through before the corner? It seems as though he's going to make the move stick. And he does. Katia backs out before the corner is even there. So Lagutskas in a few laps has woken up and has now pulled off the heist on the lead too. And Vitautas Lagutskas is back in the lead.
It will be interesting to see if Lagutskas tries to play the team game and slow Ioni down for Isaac, or if he just drives off into the sunset and tries to get the most out of those tyres. And it definitely looks like he is trying to drive off into the sunset because he's put a massive gap on him already, and he's set the fastest lap once again.
He is. Yeah, Lagutskas has awoken. Meanwhile, Isaac Price badly off the pace. The lap before was a second off the pace. Through the first few seconds, the last lap was 0.4, half a second off. There's nothing wrong with the car, nothing broken. I don't know if maybe he's trying to conserve a bit of tire for a late charge, if that makes a difference at him, if he can find any more tire to save for a couple laps before his pit stop, or if he's just lost the train of the 2 leaders ahead of him.
Yeah, tire strategy is very similar, it looks like, from Ioni and Isaac, so I don't see why Isaac would have purposefully held back. I wonder if he just made a little mistake. I don't see why he would do anything else. As Darius Razinkas has been in the pits and is back out. He's got some fresh tyres on the bus. Interesting how he chose not to repair the little damage he has on the rear. Guess he decided it wasn't worth it. So we've got Kapal. Oh, switch back to Lagutskas in the lead, making a break.
So while we watch the leaders come through, we could do a reset of the order before pit stops start in a couple laps' time. At the top, we got Vitautas Lagutskas regained the lead just 1 lap ago through this segment of the track, with about 1 second over Ioni Katia. Isaac Price in third, who has fallen off ever so slightly. About 2 seconds back in third. Nico Patola in the first FZR, running fourth, 10 seconds clear of the leaders. We got Lavrikov looking to make a move, probably not quite close enough in the slipstream to catch Nico Patola, but he will be hunting now from 5th position, William Lima in 6th, Lukashtik in 7th, Leipniks in 8th, Ayub Alanouni all the way up to 9th, and Darius Vazinskas back to 10th position from 6th after pitting 1 lap ago. On board with Lavrikov now, he's going to have a really good look, really quick, carried a lot of speed through the chicanes. Yeah, Nico going to make it easier for him and pull into the pit lane. That demotes him to 5th and puts Lavrikov up to 4th on his GT2C debut. Well done to him. Yeah,
Nico obviously deciding not to fight, not to waste any time in a battle. Be interesting to see if the early pit stop does work for him, because his tyres won't be as switched on as those in front. He does only lose a couple places in the pit stop. Doesn't look like he will have to make any on-track moves, so will be interesting to see how that plays out with Jordan. Of course, Jordan's tyres look incredibly thin as well, so be looking to see if he makes a pit stop this lap or on the next lap.
Watching a battle here between Timo Soini and Jared Mead. Soini just looking to the outside, decides to ease out of the throttle and on the brakes, stay behind Jared Mead. Now with Sean Lee all over him, Sean Lee tumbled down the order within the first couple laps. Sean Lee's going to have a look down the inside into the chicane. This is a brave move. Way late on the brakes. Soini lets him through. He will now take off in pursuit of Jared Mead, though he nearly loses it into the tires again. This will let Soini catch up to him easily in the slipstream. The world-class Lions driver now looking to the left side of the road. Soini should go around him easily, though he has a car coming out of the pits that he might be able to use the slipstream here. Sean Lee, obviously much quicker in a straight line. Soini backs out, nearly loses it on the brakes. Jared Mead goes through the car that just came out of the pits, the WRX. Now in 19th, putting a buffer between Jared Mead and Sean Lee. I'm sure Jared Mead is thankful for that.
As Presmac's just come out of the pits, he will be on close. Will be on cold tires, so Sean Lee is really pushing hard, really trying to get everything out of this car he can. Which is interesting to see because he pitted on lap 6 and the way he's pushing these tyres.
Yeah, what's happening here? What's happening here at the front? Sorry, there's something happening at the front. The Goodscast has lost a lot of time. Johansson spins in front of them, and the Goodscast and Katia go in the pits together, but the Goodscast lost a lot of time. He's got a puncture. The Goodscast got a puncture on the way into the pits. So we did discuss that his tyres were the thinnest of the front three, and he didn't make it. He just makes it into the pits and didn't quite lose the lead. That blocked up Yoni Katia, and that brought Isaac Price right back into the fray, and now Price has carried on for an extra lap, at least. Does that mean that Isaac's going to be in the lead of this race after all this?
Yeah, the car that just came into the pits, we just saw it on stream as they came through. Xiaxia there was off track on the right side of the exit, the first part of the chicane, and I think all three of them checked up when they saw the yellow flag. They ended up running, very close together, bumper to bumper, before the two, Yoni Katila and Vitalis Laguskas, chose to dive into the pits.
And Pantola has come out, Lavrakov has come out ahead of Pantola, but these two are battling now. Pantola has the warmer tyres, Lavrakov just trying to get up to temperature. Do you think it looks as though Nico will be able to look for a move down the back straight? Interesting enough, Yoni Katia had a slow stop as well, so he has dropped quite a fair bit behind Vitalis Laguskas. So despite Laguskas having a puncture, despite the fact that he was slower on the way into the pit lane, he has gained quite a number of seconds over Yoni Katia, who was his closest advantage.
Yeah, I'm looking for an explanation for that, and I can't find it, as we now see Sean Lee all over Jared Mead. Sean Lee pushing really hard. Maybe he won't lose it through the chicane this time. He does not. Gets a really good exit. He's going to easily be alongside Jared Mead here. In the front, as we were saying, Laguskas now well clear of Yoni Katila, and it's not obvious what happened. Obviously, a puncture wouldn't have cost him too much since he just got it on the way into the pits, and he was going to change that tire anyway. But not obvious at all why Yoni fell so far back.
It's Jared Mead making a move on the outside of Sean Lee. Goes wide, looking for the cutback, but Sean's on the power nice and early. Defends it for now. Very hard to stay behind the car in front through this speedy chicane. So Sean's kept that place for now. But yeah, Laguskas is definitely extremely lucky that the puncture happened when it happened. I'm not sure if he would have gone for another lap or he was planning to make that stop anyway.
Yeah, the only explanation for Katia dropping further behind is that he must have taken on more fuel than he possibly needs, or has Laguskas taken on less, but 3-second difference in pit stop seems remarkable. But anyway, Isaac Price is carrying on to lap 23, so he has decided he does not need to come into the pits yet, and he is, well, that might explain why he was a little bit slower toward the end of the stint where the three were all together. His tyre is a little bit thin at the moment, but 30.72 seconds is his lead, and if he carries on doing mid 2-minute 40s, it'll be hard to beat him.
Yeah, I am wondering if Isaac will be able to make it round on these tyres. His front tyres are incredibly thin, and it was the front right that went for Laguskas. Obviously he's decided that the risk is worth it.
Yeah. I think he should be alright for this one last lap. It's interesting then that we did note that Lagutskas's tyres seemed to be the worst of the three that were up at that front, and I guess he was the one who spent the most amount of time at the back of the queue, I suppose.
Well, Laguskas was in the lead for a long while, and I don't really see why his tyres were that much worse on wear. Maybe it's just a difference in driving style.
.8 seconds now, so that's half a second gain by Price so far in this lap. So interesting to see whether Isaac Price comes out in front of Vytautas Lagutskas in the battle for the lead.
Of course, Vytautas and Isaac are on the same team. They are in the same Team Speaks channel. So we will know. They will be talking to each other. Isaac will know how Vytautas had that puncture.
Indeed he will, Adam, but then on screen just now we see Lushki and Magic and Stephen Martin having a battle for 20. Magic's lost it at the chicane, and across the chicane he goes, and just avoiding them all is Daniel Balla as he comes through recovering from his timeout. So Magic spins out there, and that battle is lost, unfortunately, which I think would have been quite interesting down the straight. Lustig and Patrick Hall are now battling down into 7 and 8. Lustig holding on to position. Hall deciding to think better of making a move. Lustig back into 9th now, Travis.
Yeah, good drive from him. Interesting the way the order has shaken out. I'm looking a little bit further ahead of these guys at Darius Vazinskis now, whose tires are coming a little bit warm, coming toward the sweet spot. He's chasing down the drivers ahead of him. It's interesting how the pit stop shuffle.
We've got Isaac in the pits. Isaac in the pits now. It'll be very interesting to see where he comes out. He's managed to keep those tires going all the way around the lap.
Hey, we'll keep an eye on him. I was saying that Leipniks had ended up between Nico Patola and the cars chasing him. Nico Patola was a little bit closer to Lavrikov on the pit stop cycle. Lavrikov has picked up the pace since his stop, and now Nico Patola is pacing him. So it looks like it's...
Isaac's already on his way. He's leaving the pit lane. It looks like he's well ahead of Vytautas, but we'll have to see because Vytautas got so much more overspeed. This is going to be a battle into T1. It's going to be very, very close. Is Vytautas going to send it? Isaac just about keeps the place, but that is incredibly close. Of course, Isaac's tyres are much colder as they've just been put on. Although Vytautas will need to worry about his tyres overheating.
Well, will he? Because I guess that the heat peak will be far less than the original stint, so he can just really go for it. We're on lap 24 out of 29. This is where the battle could be for the rest. This is Goj fighting his way through chasing Topotniak for 21st position down into... Lagutskas is having a go. Lagutskas is having a go to back at the front on the back of Price, and these two are going to be side by side down the back straight. Lagutskas comes out quite quickly on the back of Isaac Price. Price holding the outside line. Looks as though he's just going to let his teammate through, though, boys.
Isaac pushing him right to the edge of the track.
We're Vetteling and Webbering this. And the Lagutskas takes the lead back on his warmer tyres. This is where the battle is now for the victory. Katia, his slower stop, he's maintained the exact same distance he was behind after that pit stop behind Vytautas Lagutskas. So it'll be interesting to hear from you on Katia what went wrong.
It's on Vytautas Lagutskas now to take care of these tires, to use the heat to keep the pace a bit higher than Isaac's, but not overheat them, so that Isaac can't just pass him again once his tires come up to temperature. Looking pretty good for Vytautas Lagutskas, but Isaac Price is no slouch. And he's certainly not losing time.
Yep, and he maintains a decent gap there behind Lagutskas through that tricky left-right, left complex section as they come down toward the end of this lap again. Price just a little bit too far behind, I think, to be able to make up the gap and get the pass done into this hairpin at the end of the straight, but he will be thinking about turn 1, I'd imagine.
And behind these guys, Yoni has not given up. He's half a second up on this lap, half a second up on Vytautas Lagutskas, so hard to imagine that he'll be able to close this gap and fight for the lead with just 4 laps remaining when they come across the line. But he's not quitting. He's still got pace in the car. His tires are in good nick, so he has a shot, especially if these two end up fighting, slowing each other down, maybe coming together.
Weber's round at the first corner. He's got a big damage on the left rear damper. This is going to be very hard for him to get going. We might see a virtual safety car here.
Beware, car 3-1 has left rear
Just
damage.
got a caution at the moment.
Slow. He's just exiting turn 1, so beware.
Yep, so that's the race director there, John De Palma, just alerting all drivers to Weber's predicament as he goes through the chicane. We'll look at Lima now in 7th position. A really good drive for him, actually, so far. And, and the spin, Weber has spun in front of the leaders. Unfortunately, it's really difficult for him to be able to get back to the pit there. We're looking at Jari Katia, who has a puncture, unfortunately for him. Yanni's father, as he comes to the final sectors, he's in 24th position. That's unfortunate that his front right puncture has occurred late in this race.
As we've lost connection to Daniel Ballot again. Everything's going off on this lap 25.
Leaders.
Sorry guys, in front, the leader is now running nose to tail. Isaac Price was just sticking a nose in alongside Laguskas. Now in the slipstream, going to look to his right. This will be a tough move to pull on the outside, but I think he'll try it. He's going to try to make it stick. Laguskas just ahead. Isaac Price managed to pull alongside him, but Laguskas just a little bit more grip, a little bit more pace to that corner. Isaac Price has to tuck in as they come up on back markers. That's Johansson ahead of them. This is exactly what Joni Katila wants to see. He is closing on them as these two fight.
Although they will be paying attention to Joni, and if Joni starts getting a bit too close for comfort, they will have to stop battling.
All drivers stand by for virtual safety car. Car 31 will be slow in the sweeps.
Yeah, we have a virtual safety car now.
Virtual safety car in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Isaac Price got into the back of Laguskas as they were counting down the virtual safety car. Isaac Price absolutely clattered the back of Laguskas' car when Laguskas got on the brakes to slow down for the virtual safety car. No obvious damage, though it was a really big hit. Joni Katila would have loved to see that. These two had the race in command, had only one another to fight, and had a gap over Joni Katila, and now the virtual safety car has completely changed the complexion to the end of this race.
Yeah, I know all too well how that feels. Last round, same thing happened to me. We were going through a fast corner, got the virtual safety car countdown, and I just went right into the back of Leipnix, and it sent me into the barrier. It's incredibly hard to judge the virtual safety car slowdown when you've got a car right in front of you, especially when you're going through a corner like that.
Must say, hate to see Chad on Chad violence. Anyway, they come round now, these two Chad drivers. We should be going back again, you'd imagine. Nope, Weber's still going slowly with his damper damage, so these two will be absolutely champing at the bit to get going. They're very, very close. Katia's made a little bit of gap up, I think, as well with that collision between these two. In fact, look, it looks. He certainly seems a little bit closer, so this could be interesting for him.
Yeah, he was catching them before they called the virtual safety car, with the two of them fighting, and then Isaac Price, or sorry, not Isaac Price, with Joni Katila able to run in clean air, was pulling them in ever so slightly, and then the virtual safety car. I don't know. I'm inclined to agree with you, Chris, that he got a little bit more time than he might have with the virtual safety car.
This is also helping people who had higher tire temperatures, Travis, because this is making sure that they are losing the temperature that they built up. People like Sarah, who came in, Adam's teammate, has got very, very cold tires, for example. But this will be interesting to see how the rest of this goes for those cars who are getting a little bit warm.
Yeah, we got Weber between the yellow lines now coming into pits. So
green flag, green flag, green flag.
There we go.
Good restart by Vytautas Laguskas. He maintains his lead into the chicane, and he's got a little bit more tyre temperatures because his tyres were hot up a little bit earlier than Price's. Look at Joni Katia. Look at Joni Katia.
Yeah, that benefited Joni a lot.
Sarah is into the barrier. He had a little contact with Jared Mead and Jacob Jeffin, and he's sent round again by Deponiak, who was trying to capitalise on his mistake and he just got caught up.
I think his tyres have had it, Adam. If you look at them, I think his tyres are very, very cold. Remember, he pitted very, very early in this race.
Yeah, he'll be lucky to make it to the end with the amount of tread left on them, so I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in the pit lane now. He decides to stay out. That's an interesting decision. If he had pitted there, he would have lost only a couple places, but if he pits later, he might need to worry about more. It's very close between Godge and Mead. Godge having a little contact with Jacob Jeffin.
Yes, Mead managing to make the move stick there and goes, and here comes Jeffin using the traction advantage of that FXR to get a launch into this section where he should have a good amount of traction out of this hairpin
Sorry,
section.
gentlemen, in front, the leader's catching a back marker in a really bad position in this really fast sweeping corner. Isaac Price looks like he may benefit just slightly. No, ends up alongside Johansson coming through that series of corners. That might help Joni Katila, who's going to have the slipstream from the back marker ahead of him. Hopefully, Johansson moves out of the way so Joni can take the fight without being disrupted. I was going to say earlier in the lap that Joni Katila benefited a bit more from the end of the virtual safety car, as we see Johansson move out of the way. Benefited a bit more from the end of virtual safety car because he was able to accelerate through the fast chicane, whereas the other two were a bit closer to it and weren't able to carry as much speed.
Lukastic in the draft, Patrick Hall. Gap's probably a little bit too big for a move down into turn 21, but could be possible on the back straight if he does get a good exit out the chicane.
In front, Owen Harmon has very politely put on his left blinker to indicate to the leaders that he's going to stay to the left and move out of the way. Wide through the corner. Laguskas goes through, Isaac Price through, and Joni Katila all over the back of Isaac Price now as he just misses Owen Harmon, trying his best to stay out of the way as the leaders come plowing by.
Very kind and respectful driving there from our Owen. That's what we like to see at sim broadcast.
Only proper gentlemen here.
We don't need any of them chats. Sorry, couldn't resist that joke. Anyway, moving on. Pantola is up the back of Lavrikov in the battle for 4th position. He appears to have had a good restart there. Nico Pantola in top FZR as they come through the hairpin section, now down toward this back straight. Can he get grip at the corner? Just a touch of the dirt there. Pantola in the slipstream. Don't think he's quite close enough to make this move down into the left-right chicane, though. Lavrikov has just enough of an advantage over him.
One thing that I've literally just noticed that I'd totally forgotten about is in the last update the developers changed the way the handbrake works, and they meant that you could adjust the pressure of the handbrake, and it looks to me like Nico Pantola is using the handbrake through the tighter corners in sector 1 and 2 to get the car rotated a bit more, and it looks like it is helping him quite a bit.
It's you would never put it past a Finn to find a trick with a handbrake in a road racing car, would you?
No, you definitely wouldn't. It's very Finnish thing to do that.
And he's right on the back of Lavrikov now, and as we come out of the sweepers now, and he's going to be making a move now, Pantola, with 2 to go at the end of this lap. This is the battle for 4th position. Here comes Nico Pantola pulling to the inside now and making the move up the hill. Lavrikov will go back into the slipstream of Pantola. He's right now got the advantage up the hill. These two have been at it all day long, and Lavrikov goes round the outside for the braking zone. Can he make the move stick? Pantola puts his nose in first. Lavrikov backs out of it, goes for the over and under to try and get momentum down the hill toward the chicane. It seems as though he's going to...
As up ahead, Joni's round! Joni's hit the tyres on the exit of the chicane and he's round! It looks like he's avoided any damage, but his tyres are red hot. That's put him well out of contention, and that's going to mean that possibly that Nico and Jordan are going to be fighting for the podium.
Yeah, 2 laps to go now. Lavrikov has not been able to make the move on Pantola as we now go back to Lustig and Hall battling into the chicane. Lustig up the inside. Here they contact. Nice little move there though from the XR and the FSR. You'd imagine that Hall will be able to draft past back on the straight, though. Here we go. Here's Johnny Katia now. Struggling now. He's now 7 seconds behind. Behind him is Owen Harmon. Owen Harmon not making the move for position. Johnny Katia. Oh, and that's Pantola and Lavrikov are side by side into the hairpin section. So these two battling away and not being able to make the time up, Adam, on the back on Johnny Katia.
Yeah, Yoni might have gotten lucky enough there because his tyres will be cooling down this back straight, and they might heat up a little bit later through the S's, but I think he may have dodged a bullet. So Owen Harmon gets well out the way for Jordan Larikov.
Just in the last half of this lap, Nico Pantola has put a big gap on Jordan Lavrikov. Don't think he'll be able to catch Yoni Katia.
Yeah,
seems like Yoni has it under control now.
Yoni's still cooling his tires, so if Nico really puts a push on now, he could be able to catch up.
Yoni did go a bit wide through there.
There's a puncture. Sean Lee has a puncture on in the middle of the circuit, a left front puncture with his brand new skin. Lee again, somebody else who pitted very early in this race, and he's going to try and stay out of the way of everybody else. But yeah, it does seem, along with Sarah, that the people who had to pit earlier in this race are really struggling at the end of this one. As Lagutskas and Price come.
Lee, God just gone into the back of Sean Lee, and he's creating a massive traffic jam. He needs to get out of the way. He needs to slow down. He's defending from David and Jared. This is ridiculous stuff from Sean. He's
and
gone into him again.
Well, that's just deserved, kind of.
And he's spinning all over the track. Race control hopefully will be putting out a notice. Sean now has 2 punctures, and it looks like he could end up with even more looking at the state of his rears. He's right in the way of Lauschke.
That's a good eye, Adam. I was not sure, had not decided if he had 2 punctures, but you are right, he does.
Anyway,
Martin coming past him now.
Let's not give attention to that just now. Let's give attention back to our leaders. It seems so Lagutskas has his first victory of the season wrapped up, though, boys. Price made contact with the tyres, chasing on the end of the last lap, but the gap's gone to 2 seconds. Katia is 1.5 seconds ahead of Pantola, who's now 1.5 seconds ahead of Lavrikov as well. The words Nico Pantola and charge for podium are going to be used on this last lap.
Nico half a second faster in the first split. We do know that the XRR is a bit faster in the last part of the lap, but this looks like it could be a battle right to the line for the last step on the podium. Nico's a bit wide coming out of turn 9. Yoni with the heat, with the insane heat in those tires, manages to keep it safe coming through the end of this S's section.
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys, but Sean Lee is in the middle of the road in the final corner, and the leaders are approaching.
All of Sean Lee's tires are black. He's decided to drive back on the track. He's going to be in the chicane while Isaac and Vitautas are coming by.
Here comes Vitautas Lagutskas to the final corner of the final lap of the final race of the season.
Sean Lee is round in the middle of the racing line. Vitautas almost flips his car. He's gone into Isaac Price.
Hit him.
And Vitautas
ridiculous stuff from Sean Lee. He's still on the racing line.
Vitautas Lagutskas has won this race, the final race of the 2021 GT2 Challenge race. Unfortunately, the race is ended in a slightly bizarre note. Second place for Isaac Price, who was involved in the incident there at the end. Didn't cost him too much, just a few seconds. A little bit of front end damage to one of Yoni Katia's faces. Third place did go to Yoni Katia with Nico Pantola in fourth position. And the champions of GT2 Challenge Teams Championship for this season are officially Chad Esports, who have won. Isaac Price, Vitautas Lagutskas and Paul Cena have won the championship. There you can see Yoni Katia's face on their car, their adorning mascot from World Class Lions. They finish in second position, so Joe Holmes wins the Drivers' Championship. Everybody's going for a nice drift on stream at the moment, it seems as though. Do you think this is pre-planned? Of course, they're all in the same Discord and they're all going for a nice little drift together to celebrate the end of the season.
I think they might have done it anyway because they enjoy a good laugh. It was a lot to digest at the end of that race. I think we should be thankful that the Sean Lee show did not affect the result, though it looked awfully close. Vitautas Lagutskas nearly got into him, and then Isaac Price did hit him. Managed to have enough time to collect the car and then cross ahead of Yoni Katila, but that was. I'm sure everyone will have opinions about that when the dust has settled.
Yep, and of course, not here today, but our Drivers' Champion for 2021, the second GT2 Challenge by New Dimension Racing here on simbroadcast.tv, is of course Joe Holmes, and I expect Joe might be watching this somewhere. He is the champion after the Fern Bay round, so congratulations to Joe. It was a great season for him, and we hope he will be back in his lovely first racing skin that leads us to remember simpler times. There is your top orders for today. All cars have now completed the race distance, and who would like to go through the order of this one? Travis, would you like to take it away?
I would be happy to. And there we have the graphic, the race result. Vitautas Lagutskas, probably with a bit of a heart attack coming through the final corner to find Sean Lee, but manages to preserve his top spot. Number one, Vitautas Lagutskas, followed in second place by Isaac Price. 5 seconds clear. Might have been a bit closer, bar the excitement, which I will now let go. To say that Yoni Katila finished third, rounding out the podium. 7 seconds back of Isaac Price. Nico Pantola with a spirited drive, unable to find the podium, but a great finish for him nonetheless. With Jordan Lavrikov, the newcomer, finished, I believe, 1 position higher than he started. Darius Vazinskas in 6th. We've got Lima in 7th, Patrick Hall in 8th. We've got Lukashchik in 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Leipniks. Ayub Alanuni in 11th, Botev in 12th, Garzelny in 13th, Andrei Araujo in 14th, our own Marcin Paul in 15th, Carlos Matuiotis in 16th. Zdravko Doponiak went from the back up to 12th or 13th position in the middle of the race, and then struggled, finishing 17th. Jakub Yefin in 18th. Santu Sara with an amazing pass, passing 3 cars in the first lap, and then tumbling down the order, unfortunately, in 19th. And then Jared Mead in 20th, rounding out the top 20. And below that, you can see the fastest lap of the race by Vitautas Lagutskas.
Yes, 239.35. That is a mighty lap for a race distance with wind. That is quicker than qualifying for the 12-hour race in 2014, if I'm not much mistaken.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that was faster than his pole position time by maybe a few hundredths.
Yes, it must.
I might be wrong. We'll have to check on that.
Yeah, I think he did a 0.5 in qualifying. The rest of the race results, we've got Presmek Vidovers Ars in 21st. We've got David Godge in 22nd. We've got Tauk Vicious in 23rd. Radak Lauski in 24th. Steve Martin for SMR Enterprises in 25th. We've got Timu Soini in 26th. We've got Yari Katila in 27th, Masiek in 28th. We've got Sean Lee with all 4 tyres punctured on the line. We've got in 29th. We've got Owen Harmon in 30th. Ken Johansson 31st. I really don't like pronouncing this name because I'm going to mess it up. And you got the 99 car in 32nd. We've got Benoit in 33rd. Reg LeBlanc 34th. Jürgen Weber in 35th. Daniel Bala, unfortunately, with 2 timeouts in 36th. Jarno Lehkoinen in 37th. Also had a timeout, very unlucky. And Pedro Pacanco, who retired, 38th.
And on screen now are, well, it's Vitautas Lagutskis and Joni Katia doing donuts together again. Celebrating the end of a wonderful season of GT2 Challenge 2021. The champions there again on teams are Chad Esports of Isaac Price, Vitautas Lagutskis and Pavel Sina. We have some interviews coming up to end the broadcast with in just a second. This is a lovely, it's not a Winter Olympics year, but these two really could be not ballerinas. What's the word? What's the sport I'm thinking of?
Figure skaters?
Figure skating, yeah. They could be synchronized figure skaters. This is spectacular. Maybe that should be the next thing Sim Broadcast and New Dimension Racing bring together in Live Speed.
A bit disappointing we're not seeing Isaac show up here, but these two are fun to watch regardless. Watching the chat at the end of the race, I think it's no surprise that people are a bit displeased with Sean Lee. I want to call out Owen Harmon. Owen is very proud of himself for having not rolled the car, and he had, I think, a consistent race. So well done to him. We're happy for him.
That'll be because I put my Father Ted voice on earlier and said, "Oh, don't roll!" But no, so he didn't roll. So congratulations, Owen. We are just waiting for some interviewees to come into the box. We are joined now by second place finisher today and team champion with Chad Esports. It's Isaac Price. Hello, Isaac.
Did you forget my name?
No, I was going to say something else, and then I was like, that's not a good idea, so I won't say it.
Yeah.
I say too many things that aren't a good idea. I've just forgotten the word figure skating as well. I mean, it's been that kind of day.
Well, this must be a weird commentary day if you start talking about figure skating. But...
Have you seen how beautiful your teammate and your dear friend Yoni are being on that front straight? It's beautiful.
Yeah, I was watching.
Anyway, how was that today then? 5th on the grid and finished 2nd. A good battle at the end there with Vitautas, your teammate, and also clinching the team's championship for Chad Esports.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of my mind was mainly focused on the iRacing stuff until kind of a couple hours before the race. So I clearly didn't have the pace today, really. I think I executed quite a clean race, and Lagutskis and Yoni kind of both had a little bit more pace than me. It was a shame about the Heikkinen dropping out as well. Yeah, it was probably one of the best races of the season. Obviously, towards the end, it got a bit... didn't really... I felt like a good race was ruined with the virtual safety car. I don't really understand why there was a VSC then and not other times. And obviously, it actually created a more dangerous situation because I drove into the back of the Lagutskis and he hit the wall. But there's nothing I could do because I don't know when he's going to brake, and I still made it down to the speed. So it wasn't like I braked too late or something. Yeah, and obviously I was about to get his slipstream, so I could have had a chance to overtake. And then obviously they restart the race after we go through all the straights, and yeah, there's no opportunity to overtake anymore. It was just really unfortunate timing for my race. And then obviously there was the last lap with Sean Lee, and I don't really understand what happened there. You have safety cars and VSCs and stuff, isn't it? Supposed to avoid having the leaders almost crash into a backmarker crash in the middle of the track on the last lap. I mean, yeah, I think things need to improve for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed the race. Other than that, yeah, and the Lagutskis did a great job. So yeah, congrats to him.
Yeah, it was certainly an interesting race, watching especially the front four during various points. As you say, it's an unfortunate incident that Yarno timed out with the race. So looking back on the season as a whole for 2021, I'm sure that there's been high points. Would you like to name some of them that you've enjoyed?
Well, the 2 wins at the start of the season. But yeah, I think I enjoyed bits of every single race, really. I didn't enjoy Blackwood too much, but it was mainly because of just stuff outside of LFS. I think that the racing has been good all season. Like, there's always a good fight with people, and something always happens. So it's always fun to just jump in and do races and that sort of thing. So yeah, LFS is still great for that, and NDR did a good job running the series. Yeah, I think maybe some tweaks need to happen just for the general way the LFS is now. It doesn't kind of work the way it is, but yeah, we'll obviously talk about that after the race.
Are you disappointed that you weren't able to beat Joe Holmes to the championship this time around?
I mean, well, if I kept racing, then I think it would have been a different story. Not necessarily that I would have won, but obviously he missed this race and I missed one race, so it basically meant the championship was locked the way it was. I mean, obviously losing to Joe is someone who I've played LFS against since I kind of started sim racing, so obviously it's never nice to lose to him. But yeah, there were clearly reasons, and I think that I enjoyed the battle more than anything. Obviously there were low points, but yeah, that happens in racing. He did a great job and deserved the championship.
Isaac, I want to point out, let the record show, if you go back and watch the stream, you'll hear this, that I defended you before the race even started. There was some speculation how well you would do with so little practice, and I guess that since you're awfully quick, you would be in the mix until the very end. And by God, you were. So thank you for vindicating my opinion. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I mean, Aston's kind of one of my favorite tracks anyway. It was I think I was kind of helped a little bit. I think Laguskas and Yoni battling a bit kind of helped me stay in the fight. I had less fuel than them. We're all in one kind of vocal call, so I had less fuel, but I knew that my tires were in quite a good condition, and I kind of, rather than getting involved in the fights, I kind of focused on saving the fuel so that I could go the extra lap. But I think I was still quite lucky because Laguskas got a puncture on the lap before, like literally the corner before he was going to go in the pits. So that backed up him and Yoni, and that allowed me to then get out ahead. But yeah, the pace wasn't quite there. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened. But yeah, second with the way the preparation was, and obviously from fifth on the grid, I can't be too disappointed. And the start was obviously a high point for sure.
Oh, that was a good drive. Well done to you. And thanks for sharing your thoughts. That was really insightful.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Isaac Price. Thank you for the season, and sure we'll see you the next time we have sim broadcasts events. Thank you, Isaac.
You're welcome.
And now we have Trespasser with us in the commentary box, who is Darius Virginskas. Darius, I believe you came sixth in the bus. That's quite a performance. How did you find it?
Yes, it was nice. First laps were quite hard, but it was a moment when I needed to make move, and I managed that, so it went well.
We did see you make some pretty spectacular moves. How did you find the tires? The four-wheel drive on the FXR isn't the kindest on the tires. How did you find that?
And this track is not that bad, but just earlier to pit because a bit more tire wear, but pace-wise, it's pretty okay here. So I managed to follow other guys till pit stops, then they dropped me out on low fuel.
How did you find qualifying? Because I know that FXR, it's because of the way the tires work, it does tend to do faster in quali than it does in the race.
Yeah, but in this track I have quite a bit of disadvantage because on low fuel I can match those two cars, so I was quite low. So on first lap I went for it just a bit patient, but I was sending it because I needed places to clean track, because on first laps I think I might be fastest guy on track, and later on just slower and slower. So.
Yeah, and we saw you came into the pits quite a bit earlier than some of the cars around you. Is that just because the tyres didn't last as long, or was it a decision that you made on strategy, trying to get an undercut?
Yes, tires don't last as long, and I went a bit safe. I might went one more lap, but I just decided to go safe and didn't lost as much, so it went well.
And
I'm curious. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
Just reflecting on the season. I don't think you did the first race. How did you find the
all
season?
races.
Did all the races, yeah. How did you find it?
Pretty okay. Just some rounds were quite hard on bus, but in some rounds it was really close, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, so I have a question about your choice to run the FXR. I know it's kind of a meme. We call it the bus. In earlier events, we had drivers moving around to different cars. Notably on this one, Laguskas decided to run the XRR instead of the FXR because it's a little bit quicker around here. Did you choose it just because it's fun to drive, to enjoy it, or was that a strategic decision?
It's fun to drive, and I don't need as much practice as in other cars, so I decided, as I don't have that much time to practice, I went with it, and it went pretty decent.
Fair enough, thanks for that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you to Darius Vachincas there. Another great season in the FXR, top FXR once again, and we'll now bring in our next interviewee, which is going to be Adam Brown's teammate, Santu Sara, for CSF Esports, and thank the Lord I might never have to say that name again. Santu, hello.
Hello.
That looked like a tricky afternoon out there with the tyres. In particular, you had to pit quite early on, and then the tyres were very, very cold after the virtual safety car. Would you like to talk us through your race?
Yeah, something happened in the first corner. The guys went to the inside a bit aggressive, and I got spun and went to last already in there. So I decided already that I will pit early, and then I tried to make a good comeback, but there was more hits to be happened later. So it was just downhill. It was fun, and I'd like to thank you a lot for the season. It has been really fun and a good learning experience.
Yeah, after the virtual safety car, the tires were looking very thin and looking very cold. Did you think about making a pit stop before the end, or were you confident that you could make it to the end?
Yeah, I knew I will make it to the end, but they were like 60 degrees all around, so they were really cold. But I was kind of used to that, so I thought I could challenge the guys in front. But I went side to side and I got draft immediately. But I felt like a number just turned into me, probably by accident, and I went into the wall and lost a lot of positions again.
And you ended up 19th. Were you expecting much more than that, or were you happy with your final position?
At the start, I was expecting top 15, so it's not much worse. But in the end, I saw that my pace was pretty good, so now I'm a bit disappointed. I think I could have fought for top 10.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarah. I believe Adam, we'll say this together, shall we? Hello, Owen Harmon.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Adam, and hi, Travis. What's the story?
That went a lot better than you were expecting, I think, today.
Yeah, I had a brilliant start. I was on the last row with Johansson, and unfortunately a few collisions. I was able to avoid them. But then after about 7 or 8 minutes, I made a mistake. The final chicane hit the tires, and I tried to hug the inside. And I think Timu Soini was a sort of unwanted visitor at that point, so he went wide. And then I had a huge off at the downhill left. I slid through the gravel, and thankfully I was able to come to a stop on the track, but didn't hit anybody. And then from there, just got my head down, followed my strategy, and I came 30th.
It seems like you were pretty happy with that. Your chat message at the end, thrilled that you had not flipped, led us to believe that you were pretty happy with your performance.
Yeah, I think there was one moment I nearly flipped on the final chicane, but Johansson, he got a stop-go or drive-through, one of them, so it meant we were battling for position on reasonable merit, but I had a bad getaway because that final chicane it's a nuisance, like I absolutely despise it. So I had a drag to the finish line with him, with the race leaders just a little bit further ahead of me, so it's a bit of an unusual spectacle what I got there.
We have, of course, we do, of course, have a non-championship round coming up in a couple of weeks' time at West Hill. The 6 hours of West Hill at 2:30 p.m. UTC on the the 4th of April. I was going to say 14th, for some reason, can't read. Owen, are you planning to take part in that, I guess, with your teammates, Steve Martin?
Yeah, we're registered for the 6 hours of West Hill, that's for definite. We could possibly get a third teammate. That would be really, really helpful to us. Make a massive difference to our preparations, but again, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yep, and you've done both commentary and racing this year. Would you like to give us any of your highlights for this season?
That's a good question, actually. I think the Kyoto, the efforts everyone put in for the pre-qualifying at the start of the season were brilliant, and saw good racing up and down the pack. I'd say that was my favourite memory. The season start with the extremely high quality of performance in the pre-qualifying. That was brilliant.
Well, thank you very much, Owen. Thank you for everything this season, and we'll see you at the 6 hour race in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, will do. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. So, that's the end of a championship. Travis and Adam, would you like to give your highlights of this season? They might differ slightly. Adam, yours might be more driving.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Owen. The first round was crazy. It was super competitive. It was some amazing close racing, some chaos at the start. I think it had everything. I think the last round, Fern Bay, even though it was very hectic, it was definitely very fun trying to make my way through that grid. So yeah, it's been a very fun series. Big well done to NDR, getting a full grid every race once again. Very competitive racing.
Yeah, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed this a lot as well. I watched for the events and then commentated to the events. The one at Blackwood, I had a lot of fun doing that. Plenty of excitement. The complexion of the race changed a lot. We didn't really know, during the race what was going to happen at the end. This one, I think half a lap from the end, we weren't sure what was going to happen. I think we expected a heart-stopping finish, perhaps not for the reasons that we saw, but great racing, great drivers. Really had a lot of fun sharing the commentary box with you two for two of these events. It's been really good.
So, we are at the end of our GT2 Challenge 2021 by New Dimension Racing here live on simbroadcast.tv. It's been 6 races of high drama, quality racing, and that's just the way we like it. A big thank you from us to everybody that's watched it. Without this, we wouldn't be able to do this. A big thank you to the NDR team, Jonathan Palmer, Jonathan Provost, Zenik Kagash, Yaroslav Donilik, Chris McElroy, who does a bit of both. Thank you to Pete Butcher, who's always there, the discombobulated voice in our ears all the time, telling us about the action. And thank you to all the commentators that have joined me, from Jonathan Palmer to Travis Mehlinger to Adam Brown to Owen Harmon. This has been GT2 Challenge 2021 championship run. Please join us in 2 weeks' time from West Hill for the 6 hours of West Hill non-championship event. That'll be in teams. That'll be very, very interesting. And congratulations to both Joe Holmes and Chad Esports on their titles. I've been Chris Ford, and we leave you now again with the memories of Murray Walker and Sabine Schmidt. Thank you and good night.